Part 18. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 171. Landau Manor. The black limousine stopped slowly. "Master, I'm waiting for you in the study. Please come with me." Wayne nodded and followed the housekeeper Megan with his suitcase. Not sure if it was an illusion, but he saw a bit of solemnity on Megan's expressionless face. In the study, Austin stood in front of the window with his hands behind his back, rarely playing with the ancient silver coins. Wayne walked into the study with his suitcase, and Megan closed the door, stood guard, and placed a soundproof barrier in 3 smooth movements, all in one go. Austin turned around, looked at the suitcase in Wayne's hand, frowned and said nothing. "Austin, what exactly is the big trouble I got into?" Wayne put the suitcase on the desk and showed the 4 treasures in the suitcase. "Ministry of Magic." Austin gave the answer directly, took 2 steps forward, and reported the names of the 4 treasures: Book of Moon Shadow, Manuscript of the Forgotten, Ring of Fire Element, Dragon's Blood. He looked at Wayne with a strange expression, took out the ancient silver coin from his jacket pocket and played with it. After a while, he said, "It's actually in your hand. How did you do it?" "What do you mean it's really in my hands? Don't you have exact information?" Wayne curled his lips. Damn it, old Den actually tried to deceive him. "The exact information I received came from the Moonlight Church. The High Priest Philomena Ursula experienced everything that night. The Moonlight Church was very angry and demanded that the Ministry of Magic hand over the murderer immediately." Austin said, "According to what the High Priest said, it was extremely critical at that time. The Moonlight Church suffered heavy casualties from an ambush. Thanks to the action of a golden mage named Isaac, her life would not have been saved. Although Isaac is powerful, the Ministry of Magic ambushed too many people, and the suitcase was still snatched away." Wayne scratched his head. "What a mess. Otherwise, other people would be at the scene and would be confused just listening to this information. Who is Isaac? Is he? If so, I can only say that Aunt is so kind and loves people. But..." Wayne's heart was pounding. He swallowed and said, "What does this have to do with the Ministry of Magic? Lucerberg is the territory of the Holy Father, and is not within the jurisdiction of our Windsor Ministry of Magic. The Moonlight Church should be suspicious of death, the Dark Church is the right one. You don't know anything." Austin let out a sigh, seeing that Wayne really didn't know anything, and his expression became even weirder. "You dare to take advantage of others when you don't know anything. It seems that I have to re-evaluate your ignorance and courage." "I admit my courage. I put my ignorance aside for the moment. Let me tell you what is going on. The High Priest of the Moonlight Church encountered an ambush from the Ministry of Magic in Lucer City. The Ministry of Magic has the Forbidden Demon Realm, the Mirror Space Projection Barrier, and the Dragon Blood Transformation Body. After checking the inventory, some of them were indeed missing for no reason, and the quantity can be estimated." "That's right," Austin said, "the Moonlight Church is right. Our Ministry of Magic launched an ambush. In other words, you are killing one of your own people." He glanced at the stunned Wayne, pointed to the suitcase and told the story. "These are private transactions between the Moonlight Church and the Ministry of Magic. The Book of Moon Shadow is requested by a deputy minister. The Forgotten Manuscript is requested by Dean Plank. I asked for the Dragon's Blood by name, and another Tulip family asked for the Fire Elemental Ring. Originally, there was still the flesh and blood of the Starry Sky Beast, but according to the High Priest of the Moonlight Church, she used it to save her life and had already used it." Having said this, Austin sighed and picked up the sealed bottle containing the dragon's blood. Although the process was somewhat tortuous, the dragon's blood was still in his hands. Wayne opened his eyes wide, analyzed the information, combed through it in his mind, and came to the conclusion that the Ministry of Magic was committing murder and robbery. "You know what trouble you got into, right?" Austin chuckled and glanced at Wayne. Originally, the Ministry of Magic's activities would not be exposed, but because of you, we are now in a very passive situation. The minister was furious and all of us were scolded. Who is the minister? Wayne heard clearly that Austin called the 5 members of the Ministry of Magic who secretly asked for bribes different names, the 2 tulip families, Dean Plank and the deputy minister. It can be inferred from this that the legendary mage Plank is not the deputy minister of the Ministry of Magic, but only a high-ranking official. The deputy minister is definitely stronger than Gangplank, and at least the legendary mage is half-step to the peak of perfection. The deputy minister is so powerful, wouldn't the minister want to go to heaven? The minister is Her Majesty the Queen. That's right, all supreme commanders are queens, and there is nothing wrong with it being in line with the national conditions. Wayne was full of questions and continued, so, the Ministry of Magic has never relaxed its repressive policy against the Moonlight Church. It did not intend to let them expand in the first place. It gave them a bad check, deceived people into Lucerberg, and killed people, seize the treasure and then frame the accusation on Heavenly Father and the Holy See? No, Moonlight Church can expand. This is a confirmed fact. There is no deception. It is precisely because of this that I dare to ask for bribes with peace of mind. Austin frowned and said, but I don't know which senior official used the name of the Ministry of Magic to trick the Moonlight Church and trick the High Priest into Lucerberg to ambush him. This matter is under investigation. He hid it very well, almost no clues were left. Wayne suddenly realized, I understand, this is an official statement, shirking responsibility, and everything has nothing to do with the Ministry of Magic. This time it's not about shirking responsibility. Someone did do it. Austin explained, the Ministry of Magic has agreed to the expansion of the Moonlight Church. No matter what the purpose is, both families are in the honeymoon period. Each gets what they need. This is the most pleasant time for cooperation. The Ministry of Magic will not kill anyone. This pair nothing good comes to us. Moreover, asking for bribes is not a shameful thing, and it is also a good thing for the Moonlight Church. Only if the top officials of the Ministry of Magic take it, the Moonlight Church will feel at ease. It looks like asking for a bribe, but in fact it is a statement. This is called political art. Wayne was dumbfounded. You mean, there is a high-level executive who covets 5 treasures and wants them all, so he arranged everything and framed the crime on the Ministry of Magic. From the current point of view, this is indeed the case, which is why the minister is so angry. Austin glanced at Wayne. The royal family's strategy towards the magic world has always been to win over one group and suppress another, and never have bad relations with one party. There is no war, only business. The impact of this direct killing is very bad, and the other churches everyone is watching. If we don't give a reasonable explanation, can you imagine the consequences? Wayne could roughly imagine that if pretentiousness escalates to violence, if Windsor dares to set a precedent, several churches will dare to follow suit, and there will be no peace in the future. Thinking of this, Wayne couldn't help but ask again, is it really not the Ministry of Magic's intention, but that a certain high-level person has rebelled? Rebellion is a good word. It's a good crime, Austin thought seriously. Wayne has a black line and is on fire. You still have time to think about how to frame your political opponents. According to what the High Priest of the Moonlight Church said, the 4 trading items were taken away by the Ministry of Magic. Now that the items are in your hands, they can also be regarded as in my hands. It is difficult for me to do this. Austin sat on the sofa holding the ancient silver coin and said cheerfully, it's such a headache. Why don't I hand you over? As the heir of the family, how about you sacrifice for the family? Wayne curled his lips and replied angrily, yes, yes, but please give me a month's grace. I, the heir of the family, have not yet passed on the family line. When Veronica is pregnant, I will die before it is too late. Alston, spoken. Wayne, benefit. The two of them stared at each other for a while, and Austin spoke first. It is currently unknown who the traitor is. Our 5 high-level officials who asked for bribes are the most suspected. They have the motive and ability to mobilize so many resources privately. You saved the high priest of the Moonlight Church and escalated the situation. The minister is very dissatisfied, but at the same time, such unnecessary actions cleared my suspicion. Austin asked curiously, the high priest of the Moonlight Church used the flesh and blood of the starry sky beast, which shows that she has been forced into a desperate situation. You can defeat the enemy, help her get rid of the pollution of the starry sky beast, and even trick her into spinning around and actively help you cover. Tell me, how did you do it? I thought you knew everything. Wayne was small-minded and still remembered that Austin was trying to deceive him. I just looked at the result. You are still alive. It's that simple. Austin answered simply. He believed in his choice. His heir would not simply survive, and he must have reaped the benefits. It's easier for me, because of love. Wayne said proudly, I made that woman fall in love with me. Love makes people blind. She was willing to cover for me. Love makes people strong. She defeated the giant beast in the sky. Austin laughed out loud when he heard this. It's a good reason. You can lie to me. After all, I have no choice. You can't lie to others. Do you think the Ministry of Magic will believe your lies? What if, maybe the minister will believe it? Seeing that Wayne was unwilling to tell the truth, Austin shook his head speechlessly and said seriously, be serious, you are in danger now and are being targeted by many people. Isaac did it? What do you want from me, Wayne? I said that once suspicion arises, the crime is established. The higher UPS of the Ministry of Magic know that you are Bruce. If you can be Bruce, you can be Isaac. Austin touched his chin, feeling happy but having a headache. The heir is so good that he won't suffer any loss wherever he goes. The heir is a troublemaker and creates chaos wherever he goes. I asked you to go out to discuss business, and you bombed the Ministry of Magic's hometown. Let's show your cards. How on earth would you be willing to calm down? Wayne spread his hands and said, what should we do? The trouble came to the door on its own initiative. They have already hit the house. I have to fight back. I don't blame you for fighting back, I just... Austin choked on his words. The heir would always inadvertently break into the whirlpool and seek benefits from danger. He didn't know how to evaluate whether it was good luck or bad luck. Austin, do you need to hand over these stolen goods? Casual. Is it so casual? Otherwise, if I hand it over it will appear that I have a guilty conscience, and the charges will be immediately confirmed. If I don't hand it over, it will appear that I am arrogant. They will try their best to pin the charges on me. Austin rolled his eyes. Sure enough, it's best to hand you over, or you can sacrifice yourself for the family. Wayne rolled his eyes. One day, when he takes charge of the Landau family, the first thing he will do is to liquidate the previous head of the family, who slept with Lauden's daughter, beat Lauden's grandson, spent Lauden's money, and then threw Lauden into prison. Le.jpg. What are you enjoying there? Austin snorted angrily and judged others by himself, knowing that Wayne must be setting him up. Then he said, you don't have to tell me what happened between you and the high priest of the Moonlight Church, and you don't have to tell me how to crack the forbidden magic field and the mirror space, but you shouldn't save her. The Ministry of Magic has studied how terrible the pollution of the Star Beast is for a long time and knows it well. Someone will come to you because of this matter. Austin directly explained that the first one was Plank, the director of the mental hospital was in this line of work. The second one was Bon, who asked for the flesh and blood of the Star Beast. He was the head of the biological research group of the Ministry of Magic, and the dragon blood transformation was his masterpiece. Being targeted by two legendary wizards was not a good sign. If it weren't for Austin's front, Wayne would have been captured and studied long ago. But not in public does not mean not in private. Austin asked Wayne to walk less at night, so as not to disappear and live in the basement one day. Wayne nodded, thinking of the ancient silver coins at home, thinking that Schrödinger would come to the door. They won't look for you recently, even if they want to avoid suspicion, they will avoid you. Austin continued, the minister issued a self-examination order. Each of the 5 senior officials who asked for bribes will set up an investigation team to investigate who is the traitor among the other 4. Political struggle? Whoever loses is the traitor, Wayne asked tentatively. No, the traitor must be caught this time. Austin glanced at Wayne and said sternly, the Ministry of Magic must not only give an explanation to the Moonlight Church, but also to other churches. The traitor has gone too far. He broke the balance and plunged the entire country into a crisis of faith war. Wayne's expression was solemn. There were only 0 times and countless times in the world. Once 0 was broken, trust would disappear. From the perspective of Windsor, it was indeed a major crisis. From the perspective of other churches, if Windsor could do it the first time, there would be a second time. Be bolder. Have you done it before? Wayne was overwhelmed. From the perspective of the Ministry of Magic, this incident would not have happened. The death of a high priest would not affect the in-depth cooperation with the Moonlight Church. Because of him, the high priest survived. Good fellow, he was clearly executing justice, but he suddenly became a national criminal. The higher UPS really have good vision, other spies are rubbish, and Wayne is the one who really makes trouble for Windsor. Austin probably saw Wayne's depression, and he comforted him. From the perspective of the family's interests, I was the first to eliminate the suspicion. This is a good thing. You don't have to participate in the investigation team. Keep a low profile for a while. Perhaps unwilling to give Wayne too much good face, Austin's face darkened again after he finished speaking. The crisis you face is not only 2 legendary wizards, but before you go to Loselberg, someone in the Ministry of Magic wanted to kill you. Is there such a thing? Wayne was very puzzled. As upright as he was, he never caused trouble. Even if he did, it was to fight crime. Why did someone always think about him? Or is the Ministry of Magic part of the crime? You go to Loselberg and stay at the Capitol Hotel. From the moment you board the plane, all registrations are in real name, and your whereabouts are not hidden. Austin's tone gradually turned cold. The other party used the resources of the Ministry of Magic but left no available clues, which shows that they are well prepared, but this is a backup plan, a follow-up preparation for the failure of the ambush of the Moonlight Church. If it were me, in order to make the plan foolproof, I would definitely check the list of hotel guests to prevent uncontrollable factors. At this point, Wayne understood what Austin meant. He registered in the hotel with his real name and negotiated business on behalf of the Landau family. It was impossible for the traitor to find out. Although Austin did not announce to the public that he was the heir, he had already sent a signal. The traitor knew this and still insisted on ambush in the hotel, clearly intending to kill him. Austin played with the ancient silver coin. It's a good idea, but I underestimated your strength. How can this be absurd? Wayne nodded with a serious face. This is not a kick to my ass, it's clearly a slap to your face. Austin did not respond. This ambush revealed a lot of information. It was not Wayne who was killed, but the Landau family. He must be cautious. After a while, Wayne broke the calm and looked at the 4 treasures on the table. What should I do with these things? They are suddenly hot. Put them in Landau Manor first, and wait until the matter is over. You live at home these days. The new house has been decorated. Don't run around. Austin explained the handling method. Dragon blood was what he wanted, so he kept it directly. The Book of Moon Shadow and the Forgotten Manuscript were backed up. When the matter is over, they can be used for trading and make another wave of money. The fire element ring is a bit difficult. Knowledge can be copied, but the ring cannot. It depends on the other party's offer. If the price is suitable, trade it. If it is not suitable, say it is lost. I understand. If you don't make money, you will lose money. There is no way to hand it over. Wayne nodded repeatedly, worthy of being the middle-aged version in the mirror. If there is money to be made, then make it. If there is no money to be made, then make it. But there is one thing that he cares about very much. Austin, in whose name is the dragon blood given to the teacher, and Veronica, you or me. I have helped you clean up so many messes, and you still want to steal my dragon blood. Austin was very upset. He had not stepped down yet, and Wayne dared to blatantly steal his benefits. If he stepped down, wouldn't he have to live in the gatehouse in the future? I also paid a lot. You don't know that I almost lost my life to get the dragon blood, Wayne complained repeatedly. If it weren't for his efforts, the dragon blood would have been stolen long ago. The two stared at each other again. 2 minutes later, Austin sneered and said, "As far as I know, you have been sleeping in the same suite with your secretary during these days of staying in the hotel. You know again." Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 172. Facing Austin's threat, Wayne did not panic at all, only curious about who betrayed him. The hotel's registration list, or is there a traitor in the team? Why, you've had so much fun these days that you're speechless, Austin sneered again and again. The suite has more than one bedroom, and I didn't arrange the check-in. Only the wise will make their own mistakes. I can only say that although the secretary is good, she is not 1/10,000th as good as Veronica. She is still a virgin and nothing happened, Wayne said, truthfully said. Austin didn't believe such nonsense. How could nothing happen if they were in the same room with fire? If he was really innocent, he would have to consider whether Wayne had the ability to continue the family line. I have investigated your female secretary. She is a nun from Heavenly Father's Holy See and a member of the White Glove Society. She must have bad intentions when approaching you, Austin reminded. I know. Wayne was convinced that he was not only evil, he was clearly here to eat people. Do you know you still have her by your side? There is no way. As the heir of the Landau family, even if I stand still, women of all kinds will approach me. The nuns from the Heavenly Father's Holy See have a background, so they are suitable for use as a shield. Wayne said, nonsense, seriously, to tell you the truth, I learned this trick from you. What does this have to do with me? Austin refuses to be complicit. If this is true, it is not him who is taking advantage of Wayne, but Wayne who is taking advantage of him. It has always been said outside that Megan is your lover and secretary, and you have never denied it. Wayne shrugged. Speaking of chaos in his private life, Austin was a famous playboy. The women he had slept with could circle around the financial city. As the heir, he deserved a lot of credit for not copying his answers. Austin had a stinky face and did not intend to explain anything on this matter. He only said, rumors stop only the wise. Believing in everything will only harm you. Your teacher is not a generous person. I am still alive, is enough to explain everything. Oh, you said the teacher is petty, jealous, arrogant, and unreasonable. Austin, dis. Again, if we had no choice, society would only have cement buckets for garbage. One last thing, why will the business be closed? You can't succeed. Austin was puzzled. He couldn't figure it out. The Albert Steel Company represented Lucerberg and would not choose Wayne anyway. The money was earned in a blur and was hot to the touch. I don't know much about this, maybe it's luck or personal charm. To be honest. Austin interrupted directly and said seriously, you are the heir of the family. The family is in front and the heir is behind. Even if you become the head of the family is in front and the master is behind. Austin's meaning is simple. Wayne has hidden too many secrets, and secrets represent the unknown. As the head of the family, he allows Wayne to hide secrets, but does not allow these secrets to drag the family into an abyss. Wayne pondered for a moment and was about to tell the reason he had made up. Seeing Austin's solemn expression, he sighed and said, "I fought off the devil twice in a row. Heavenly Father and the Holy See thought I had great potential and tried every means to attract me. Joining the partnership, this business is a sign of goodwill from the other party." Wayne could only say so much. The reincarnated angel was so outrageous that he even found it funny. Austin couldn't help but laugh to death after hearing this. Austin frowned slightly. The blood tyrant of Dragonheart Island, the thousand-eyed demon of London, and Wayne were present every time. It was understandable that the Heavenly Father Holy See would throw an olive branch, and this reason was barely acceptable. But it's definitely not that simple. Wayne, you have a deal with them. It's one-sided. They have been paying for it so far, Wayne added. Really, I didn't lie to you. I have always wanted to get rid of them, but they refuse to give up. Stay away from them. The royal family has always disliked the Holy See. Austin shook his head and stopped asking. Looking at the heir, he has a complicated mind. Everything is fine, but he has too many troubles. More trouble than him. If I didn't have a choice. Austin held the ancient silver coin and rubbed his temples. If he had known it would be such a troublesome thing, he should have been more decisive and put social waste directly into cement buckets to fill the river. It's fine now, he has cut off his retreat, and I don't know if he has enough paper on him to wipe Wayne's butt clean. Alston, dis. From today on, don't leave Landau Manor without my order. Your residence has been renovated and you are not allowed to go anywhere. Wayne shrugged, it's pretty good. I haven't been practicing seriously in recent times. Why don't you leave? Dragon blood hasn't been decided yet. In the end, the dragon's blood was divided into two. Megan got a new sealed bottle and Wayne and Austin each took half. They all think they have lost money. Austin, shameless, it's my thing. Wayne, villain, I sacrificed my life for the spoils of war. Wayne carried his suitcase to the new home of the Landau family. It was located on the side of the main building of the big house. He had a good view and used the main building of the big house to block Veronica's single-family villa. At that time, Wayne had not yet become the heir, and Austin didn't like him no matter what he thought. Although he still doesn't like it now, when Wayne became the heir, the layout of the three buildings seemed superfluous. The young master's single-family villa officially started construction at the end of July. It took 3 months to complete the construction. It is neatly decorated and fully furnished, and you can move in directly with just your bags. The efficiency is amazing, which ordinary decoration teams cannot do. Magic must have been used during the construction. Wayne entered the new house. The overall structure and layout are similar to Veronica's single-family villa, and the decoration is gorgeous and retro. The area is smaller than that of Wayne's house at number 11 Jazz Road, but it is still very spacious. Apart from the housekeeper and maid, it is not a problem to live in 20 or 30 people. Wayne picked up the phone on the table, called Wayne's house, and asked FLA to bring the maid to move in. There are also some things in his study and bedroom, such as diaries, Valkyrie knight armor, etc., which need to be brought over. For example, the safe containing ancient silver coins will be indispensable for staying in Landau Manor for a while in the future. He did not mention the change of clothes and food. FLA is professional and will take these into consideration. While calling, Wayne arranged the task of placing the play for Mona, and asked her to keep in touch with Nicholas and become a professional secretary as soon as possible. At 6 o'clock in the evening, FLA checked into the Landau family. Looking at the main building of the big house not far away, his mind was very complicated. He is back. Master Wayne fulfilled his promise and once again became the steward of the Landau family, but not now, and he had to wait a little longer. After a busy time, Wayne enjoyed a family dinner in the main building of the big house. There were only 2 people at the family dinner tonight. Austin and Healy were not present. Only Veronica stared at Wayne fiercely while eating. Wayne, W. Deliberately, he knew that this expression would kill Veronica. As long as he pretended to be innocent, Veronica would want to hit him. Sure enough, after dinner, Veronica wiped her mouth elegantly and hooked her finger at the social garbage. Wayne followed happily with the dragon blood seal bottle in his arms and the diary in his arms. The 2 came to the exclusive villa of the eldest lady. As soon as Veronica closed the door, Wayne took the initiative to lean against the wall. "What are you doing? Doesn't this show that you are strong? Are you very proud?" Veronica was so angry that she grabbed Wayne's collar and lifted him up. The latter was not ashamed and called this posture a wall dong. Thinking about it, she hit the back of her head against the wall. Dong. Veronica didn't understand Wayne's operation. She only knew that the social scum was playing tricks again. She didn't want to let the other party succeed. She snorted coldly and let go of her hands. She snatched the diary and sat on the sofa to read it. While reading, she denounced this unscrupulous society. Black can be written as white. This society is hopeless. Wayne sat down on the sofa. As usual, the eldest lady didn't say dirty words. She repeated a few sentences over and over again. He was excited by her poor vocabulary. Le.jpg. Bang. Veronica punched Wayne in the face. Thinking of what her mother said, she became more and more angry. She rode on him and punched him again. She didn't mention the air the whole time. She was too ashamed to speak, so she turned it into fist force and hit the social scum in the face. Wayne gradually got used to this way of flirting. It was a good sign that he didn't fly today. Just as he was about to say something, he heard a bang, and the water cup on the table shook. "Hey, what's the noise?" Veronica was riding on Wayne, with one hand clenched into a fist and the other hand holding the collar. When she heard the sound, she looked out the window. She didn't see the human cannonball, and tilted her head in confusion. According to the normal process, it should be glass shattering, land off flying, and then the housekeeper Megan took the medicine box to the grove. Nothing today. Wayne patted the leg riding on him. "I roughly know what the noise is. Come with me and show you." "You know." "Of course, if not, it's up to you." "Then you're dead." Veronica was skeptical, stood up and followed Wayne to the basement of her room. The young master and young lady's villa is fully equipped. It has everything that the main building has, such as the air raid shelter in the basement, which is spacious and stores a lot of food, and there are several independent training rooms. Wayne picked one at random, held the sealed bottle in his arms, looked around, and waved to Veronica like a thief. "Come closer, he, I have a treasure to show you." "Mysterious, what do you want to do?" "If you want to die, just say it, I'll help you." Veronica vaguely felt that something was wrong, but still came over. Her golden head was full of curiosity, and she was not prepared. She didn't grow up at all, so she read the diary in vain. When Veronica approached, Wayne suddenly grasped the sealed bottle, destroyed the seal with magic, opened the bottle mouth and aimed at Veronica. Dragon blood is pure gold, with surging energy and flame special effects. It is activated the moment the seal fails. Attracted by the dragon blood in Veronica's body, it spontaneously ignites and turns into a dragon claw to grab her. "Not good. Asshole, you lied to me again." Veronica was horrified. The moment she saw the golden light, her heartbeat accelerated uncontrollably. Having had the experience of Dragon Heart Island, she turned around and ran without saying a word. It was too late. The flaming dragon claws captured Veronica and burned all her clothes. Because of the external dragon blood heat, her dragon blood was purified. She purified her blood twice in 3 months, Her potential was enhanced, and her future was promising. It was a good thing. I don't know how many people would kneel down and ask for a way out. If Wayne's eyes hadn't been so wide, Veronica would have laughed. She couldn't move her body, couldn't speak, and could only stare at the social garbage fiercely. She swore in her heart that when she got out of the predicament, she must make the other party pay the price. Don't thank me, I'm doing this for the future of the family. Wayne rubbed his hands and circled around Veronica, afraid that he didn't die thoroughly enough, so he tried his best to make her die. Is it an illusion? I feel that your waist is thicker than last time. I told you not to eat so many desserts. Oh, I misunderstood you, it's not just your waist that's thick. Veronica was furious, angry, and furious. Her anger and shame directly covered her shame. She suddenly said, "Just wait, I will definitely beat you to death." X2. Hey, you can talk, Wayne said in surprise. Yes, I can talk. Veronica was also surprised. She was stunned for a moment and looked at Wayne to ask him to give a reasonable explanation. It should be because your dragon blood is stronger than before. Wayne looked Veronica up and down and speculated, if I'm not mistaken, the next time there is dragon blood purification, you can not only speak, but also control your hands and feet, and you won't be unable to move like now. Thinking of this, Wayne raised his eyebrows. So Louden was hit by a flaming fist today? Goddess of death, I hope he's okay. Veronica didn't understand it very well, but she felt that Wayne's speculation made some sense. Suddenly, she realized something and said angrily, "Asshole, why are you pretending to be a good person here? Turn around quickly." What a long reflex arc. Wayne complained and turned 360 degrees on the spot. Seeing that Veronica was even angrier, he shrugged and stood behind her. Do you feel better? It's even worse. Veronica didn't feel safe at all and was almost angry to death. Don't panic, you have flames on your body, which can protect you from being hurt by the pervert, and with me watching, the pervert can't come over, Wayne said righteously. You're dead. Dead. Okay, I'm dead, don't talk, calm down and wait for the evolution to end. Wayne returned to Veronica. Last time on Dragonheart Island, I defeated a devil to get the dragon blood. Don't you want to ask how much effort I spent to get the dragon blood this time? Did I almost die outside? You'd better die outside. Veronica snorted coldly, and then stopped talking. After a moment, she said angrily, "Can't you leave this room?" How can that be? What if there is danger? I have to watch closely. To be honest, from just now to now, I didn't dare to blink my eyes, for fear of accidents. Wayne looked upright and serious, as if he was guarding justice. Veronica was about to cry, and said aggrievedly, "Don't look, please go out quickly, or I will beat you to death." How can you beg someone like this? Call me brother and let me hear it. The voice should be sweeter. Just wait, I will not only beat you to death, but also stuff your body into a cement barrel to fill the river. Veronica was so angry that she closed her eyes and pretended to be out of sight and out of mind. Look a few more times now, and you won't see anything in the future. Wayne teased for a while, and seeing that Veronica had no reaction, he couldn't help but secretly said that it was boring. He circled around the flame for half a circle, thinking of Louden being seriously injured by the flame fist, and Louden was the future him, so he stretched out his hand to the flame. Tentacles. Wayne stood behind Veronica, wanting to test the heat of the flame so as not to be unprepared when the time came. The outer flames were very hot, and the heat on Veronica's skin was even more terrifying. As soon as the tentacles touched her back, they turned into flying ash and dissipated. What are you doing? Veronica's voice trembled. I'll study it. If there is a next time, you will definitely beat me. I'll get used to the heat of the flame first, Wayne replied truthfully. Veronica was speechless and snorted coldly and stopped talking. 2 hours later, Wayne returned to the basement with new clothes. He didn't see the flames and turned to run away. Veronica rushed out of his blind spot with a quick step, pressed the person to the ground with a flying pounce, and punched the social garbage. "Put on your clothes first, you are a lady, this is not good, I promise not to run." Wayne waved his hands wildly, trying to push Veronica away. He was quick-eyed and quick-handed, and every push was accurate. "I don't care. I won't wear it. I want you to die today." The next day, Wayne, with a bandage on his head, walked into the study under Megan's contemptuous eyes. In the study, Austin had a bandage on his head. When the two saw each other pretending to be miserable to gain sympathy, they all curled their lips. Shameless. X2. "Austin, do you want to talk to me about something?" "Well, your house arrest is over." "Ah." A string of question marks floated across Wayne's mind. How could it end? It hasn't even been 24 hours yet. This is what the minister meant. Austin said expressionlessly, "Didn't you save the high priestess of the Moonlight Church? She will arrive in London the day after tomorrow. The Ministry of Magic must express goodwill. The minister has decided that you will serve as the image ambassador, receive her throughout the entire process, and do everything possible to meet her requirements." Wayne. Please say it again, what ambassador? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 173. Austin, I didn't hear you clearly just now, please say it again, what ambassador? Wayne picked his ears, suspecting that he was hearing hallucinations. Maybe it was because Veronica's punching power had improved and she had internal injuries on him last night. Big image. In the middle of Austin's words, Wayne laughed out loud, pointed at himself and said very proudly, "There is a shape, but the image is too outrageous. Can't we find someone in Windsor? Or should we say it's just a person?" Megan nodded, it was indeed outrageous. Austin rolled his eyes, "I think it's outrageous too, but this is the minister's order. You have saved the high priest of the Moonlight Church, and only you can restore the image of the Ministry of Magic. That's the truth, but..." Seeing that Austin didn't look like he was joking, Wayne couldn't help sweating on his forehead. Isn't it a bit too much to do everything possible to meet her request? If she has any evil intentions, wouldn't I have to die for the country? If dying for the country can satisfy her unscrupulous desires, your sacrifice is worth it. The minister will award you a knighthood medal as the country's top leader, Austin said with a stinky face. Very unhappy. He sent out a signal to the outside world that Wayne was the heir to the Landau family. The Queen must have received the news and deliberately issued such an order, which clearly showed her dissatisfaction with the Landau family. Austin knew why the Queen was dissatisfied. From a national level, the traitors in the Ministry of Magic were heinous and were the #1 culprits in this incident. They must be caught and severely punished. Following closely behind him was Wayne. He tore off the fig leaf and said to several churches, "Demonstrate the ministry's inhumanity. No matter how unruly the Ministry of Magic is, it is a family matter behind closed doors, and it is Wayne's fault if it is made public. Now the Moonlight Church wants the Ministry of Magic to give an explanation and hand over the murderer for severe punishment." Several other churches have followed suit and fanned the flames. The Queen is one of them, and two are older, leaving Wayne, who has torn off the fig leaf, to deal with the aftermath on his own. We are still investigating who the traitor is. We won't be able to find out in a short time. The top priority is to stop the Moonlight Church. Only when the Moonlight Church is satisfied will the other churches be satisfied, Austin said angrily. This was a statement to show Windsor's attitude towards the church. It was not intended to cause a dispute. It was just an accident. The gesture is a little weaker, but that's how politics is. Several churches are gathering together to hold back big moves. Windsor must compromise, even if it's acting, it must make them feel that they are respected. To put it bluntly, if you didn't save people, these things wouldn't have happened, and you have to pay the price for what you did, Austen said. No, I'm a good person. Is it a crime to save others? Wayne looked aggrieved. Don't pretend to be stupid. There are never any good people in this world. Morality is the restraint of the upper class on the lower class. The upper class will never impose moral shackles on themselves. Interest is the most important thing. The truth is not complicated. Austen knows that Wayne knows. In addition, there is no point in being miserable in front of him. If you have the ability to tell the Queen, see if the Queen believes that there are good people in the world. Wayne sighed, the world was a mess. Fortunately, he had the foresight to embark on the road of social waste early, otherwise just paying tuition would have bankrupted him. Any more questions? It really does. Thinking of the great beauty of the high priest Philomena, Wayne sweated for himself. To be honest, when I rescued people, I went to the suitcase. In order to cover up the impure motives, the process was great and left a deep impression on the high priest. I could feel that she was very fond of me. The best evidence is that he announced his family name as Jack, and Philomena called him Isaac. If they don't meet again in the future, Philomena's favor will always exist, and Jack will be a passing hero. At most, he will take advantage of others, and it will not affect the favor of his savior. Perhaps Philomena would still fantasize about making some repairs to his face in the dead of night. But if they meet in London, Jack, the golden mage of Heavenly Father's Church and a native of Lucerberg, suddenly becomes the image ambassador of the Windsor Ministry of Magic. Philomena will be slapped by two big mouths, and her goodwill will definitely be wiped out. In this case, meet all the requirements of the other party. Wayne's scalp was numb. What a ruthless queen. This was not arranging for him to die for the country. She was clearly asking him to die for the country. Wayne explained his difficulties to Austen, and Austen's face became even more disgusting. You are wronged, and I am still wronged. You are the heir of the Landau family, and you being manipulated outside is the same as me being manipulated outside Handel. At the end of the conversation, Austen was furious and blamed Wayne for being too meddlesome. After complaining for a while, Austen waved his hand. The minister has already decided, no one can change it, and you are indeed the most suitable candidate. Wayne nodded, he was indeed the most suitable candidate, and he was the only one to be the ambassador. The Ministry of Magic ambushed the Moonlight Church. Originally, no one would know about it, but you just happened to save the high priest and put the Ministry of Magic into a dilemma. You also allowed the Moonlight Church to get the handle of the Ministry of Magic, so that it could fight for more benefits in Windsor. Austen finished his analysis and concluded, for you to face the high priest is enough to prove that Windsor's strategy has never changed. We have always been kind to all churches. We did not shirk responsibility this time. There is indeed a traitor within, that's all. Wayne nodded while listening. He understood the truth, but again, he had deceived that woman, and now he took the initiative to come to her house and let her be happy, and there was a high probability that she would be screwed. You are so good at cheating women, what's the harm in cheating her again? Austen laughed out loud, and felt something was wrong while laughing, and warned, don't mess around, she is old enough to be your mother. It's not me who is messing around now, but the other side who will mess around. Wayne complained, inexplicably confident, Austen is really bold, she is an aunt, not a female college student, how can she be so easy to cheat? Austen couldn't stand hearing this, and warned Wayne to restrain himself when cheating. If Veronica was wronged, he would never give up. Okay, father-in-law. Father-in-law. Get lost. Austen told Wayne to get out directly, and he followed him out of the study. Outside the door, Megan put away the soundproof barrier. followed behind the master and the young master, and looked at the two dark guys with a particularly contemptuous look. She heard it all. The three got into the black limousine, and Austin refused to sit in the same row with Wayne, and chose to sit in the back seat with Megan. Wayne took off the gauze and expressed his understanding. This was a multiple-choice question. If it were him, he would also sit with his housekeeper, secretary, and lover. Austin took off the bandage and put it on the back seat. He didn't throw it away because he could use it when he returned. He said to Wayne, "Although you are the image ambassador and received the high priest of the Moonlight Church throughout the whole process, your status is not enough. On the day of the airport pickup, the Ministry of Magic will send a deputy minister." Austin explained the airport pickup process. The Queen is the Minister of Magic, but she does not directly participate in management. Under her authorization, the Ministry of Magic has 3 deputy ministers. Obi was one of the 5 suspects because he asked for the Book of Moon Shadow. He was banned from participating in the welcoming ceremony. He is currently forming a self-examination team and is very busy. The Queen selected a confidant from the other 2 deputy ministers, Yvette Collins, a female legendary wizard from the Collins family of the Tulip family. The Tulip family has penetrated into various fields of Windsor, including the magic field. The Collins family specializes in magic. They are not well known in the secular world, but have a very high reputation within the Tulip family. At the same time, there are some gossips. Everyone in the magic field wants to join the game. The Collins family took the lead in occupying the Blue Ocean. Others drank soup while watching the Collins family eat meat, smiling on the surface, and MMP in their hearts. The 14 Tulip families are not united. Why are you telling me this? Do you want me to please Ms. Collins? Wayne raised his eyebrows, and the word please was emphasized. He suspected that Loudon was not looking for an heir, but a socialite. Many big families and big consortiums have similar private armed forces, which can be used for their own use or to entertain guests. When the water is ripe, cooperation will go smoothly. Rightward arrow. Austin was too lazy to pay attention to Wayne. He explained the identity and background of Yvette Collins to let Wayne restrain himself a little, not to deceive others or be deceived by others. In a word, keep a certain distance. When saying this, Austin looked unhappy. He took Wayne to the Ministry of Magic, which was equivalent to revealing the latter's identity as the heir. Although this was originally planned, it was too early, which was very annoying. Acceptance is not equal to complete acceptance. Recognition is not equal to complete recognition. According to Austin's idea, Wayne should be trained for at least a year, and the identity of the heir should be officially announced when the time is right. Because of the Queen's order, the plan fell through. Windsor, London, Ministry of Magic. The headquarters building of the Ministry of Magic is located in the West End of London, very close to Buckingham Palace where the Queen lives. As the most mysterious department in Windsor, the sign of Forestry Resources Planning Bureau is hung on the door. It is an idle department that looks useful but has no great use. In addition, the staff are all old, and it has always been regarded by the outside world as a political retirement home. The Ministry of Magic headquarters covers a huge area, with a classical architectural style. It has several large office buildings, museums, theaters, and high-end restaurants. It is not like a government office building, but more like a large manor or a paid park scenic spot. In addition to the headquarters, the Ministry of Magic also has several branches in London, using hospitals, zoos, and concert halls as cover. If you insist, Plank is a senior executive of the Ministry of Magic, and the Red Leaf Forest Lunatic Asylum can be regarded as a branch of the Ministry of Magic. The black luxury car stopped at the Iron Gate, and 2 guards checked it. Megan handed over her ID, and the guard confirmed the list of visitors today and opened the door to let her in. The car drove in the park for 5 minutes and stopped in front of a 4-story office building. The whole is white, with many columns on the exterior, magnificent shape, and standard classical architectural style. This building is the office of Deputy Minister Yvette. Meghan waited there, and Wayne followed Austin into the building and met the female deputy minister. She is in her 50s, with elegant makeup and excellent temperament. It is undoubtedly wrong to judge a magician, especially a legendary magician, by his appearance, but the other party said so because she hoped that others would respect her with the etiquette of respecting elders. Austin was very respectful and lifted the elder's hand and kissed it gently. "Yvette, I haven't seen you for a long time, and your charm is still so amazing." Yvette smiled slightly. "Austin, I heard that you are in trouble recently. How are you? Do you need my help to say a few words?" "Thank you for your kindness. I will solve this matter myself. It is not that troublesome." The two chatted for a while and the topic shifted to Wayne. Austin patted Wayne on the shoulder and introduced, "He is Wayne, a descendant of the family. He is stupid and has an unpleasant mouth. Please forgive me if I have offended him in any way." Wayne smiled innocently at the right moment and bent down to salute the lady. Yvette laughed so hard that she said after a moment, "I'm sorry, I lost my temper. Austin, is he really not your illegitimate son?" "A lot of people think so, it's just a coincidence." "That's a pity. After all, you two are so similar. I remember when we first met, your smile was as innocent as his." At this point, Yvette laughed again. The implication is self-evident. Austin smiled and shook his head, mentioned the matter of hosting the Moonlight Church delegation, and asked Yvette what specific arrangements she had. On his side, Wayne would fully cooperate to ensure that everything goes smoothly. "As long as you say this, don't worry, I won't embarrass him." The relationship between Yvette and Austin is just colleagues, not that close, but they are by no means annoying. In the Tulip family, the cooperation between the two families has never deepened, and they have always maintained a tacit understanding of aloofness. One is rich and the other is powerful. If these two families get too close, the Queen will be very unhappy. Wayne was silent throughout the whole process. He is very self-aware. On this occasion, it is useless for him to say anything. Being humble and obedient is the best choice. Humility costs nothing and is the cheapest way to win the favor of others. Especially in front of elders. Elders attach great importance to the first impression. If the first impression is good, it will not hurt to make mistakes in the future. If the first impression is bad, youth is limited, don't waste time proving anything, invest instead with an elder. Yvette explained the reception to Austin, and she followed the Queen's order and came up with the charter. On the first day, she will personally receive Philomena, the high priest of the Moonlight Church, to show that the Ministry of Magic attaches great importance to it. The location will be at the Ministry of Magic headquarters, which is this office building. After that, she would not show up unless necessary, and Wayne would act as an ambassador, providing Philomena with food, clothing, housing, and transportation. Accommodation is exempted. Considering the unpleasantness of Lucerberg, Philomena will not stay in the hotel arranged by the Ministry of Magic. Wayne will be responsible for all other expenses. Just by looking at this arrangement, we can tell that Deputy Minister Yvette is keeping a low profile. Although she has received orders from the Queen, the water is too deep and she will not take the lead in taking over everything until the identity of the traitor is confirmed. Ministry of Magic, Wayne, don't you like to be in the spotlight? The organization has decided that you will be the leader. Austin was somewhat disappointed, but he also knew that the other party had given him a lot of face, so he took out a white paper from his arms and handed it over. The cover has no words and is a copy of the Book of Moonshadow. Yvette accepted with a smile, and looked at Wayne with a much kinder look. "Austin, you can rest assured, this is London, no one can harm your illegitimate child." Austin remained silent. If you have an illegitimate child, then you have an illegitimate child. It can't be washed away anyway. There is also a voting session for the heir of the Tulip family. I will give Wayne my vote. Yvette smiled and said to Wayne, the key depends on himself. If his performance this time satisfies the Queen, even if he fails in the voting, no one can object to the Queen's appointment. Austen thanked Wayne, patted Wayne on the shoulder, and asked the honest heir to take over the schedule. The two left the office building, and Wayne got into the passenger seat and asked curiously, the heir to the Tulip family has to vote internally and needs the royal family's nod. Is it so troublesome? Otherwise, if we let the family choose, the Tulip family would have lost control long ago, Austen said matter-of-factly. That's right. Wayne nodded and allowed his family to make arrangements. The Tulip family would have already been able to dominate the royal family. What a queen, she has already gone to the sea to make a living. Wayne looked at the schedule, which was a thick pile. Except for the first day of leisure, he would serve Philomena the same way the eunuch did to his wife. I couldn't help but complain, why should I take the blame for the Ministry of Magic? What do you think? That's right. Wayne continued to look through the schedule, and found a problem at the end. Austen, there is something wrong with the self-cultivation of this tour guide. It only said when the work will start, but not when it will end. Did Ms. Collins forget it? What do you think? He felt that it was not that he had forgotten, but that he could not give an accurate end time. Before the Ministry of Magic found out the traitor, he, the image ambassador, shouldered a heavy responsibility and had to make the high priest of the Moonlight Church comfortable. At the very least, shut the other person's mouth. Wan Yao, now I really have to die for my country. Restarting the Myth. Author, Feng Chao Huang. Chapter 174. It's night, Wayne House. Willie was running around in the corridor with her pajamas and bare feet. She disturbed the female night Valkyrie and was taken to the backyard to make up lessons. Wayne receives one-on-one tutoring from Chrissy in his study. At the end of the class, Willie was still practicing swordplay, and Wayne frowned and said nothing. The time was just right, just enough time for Chrissy to change into a hip skirt, and the concave shape provided him with design inspiration. What excuse should I use this time? Wayne, I want to take a leave of absence in the next few days. I can't give you private tutoring, Chris said apologetically. No way, at this time. Wayne was very dissatisfied. The courses these days were very critical, and they were all focused on exams. The teacher just left and asked the students to do whatever they wanted. The situation is a bit complicated. Chris apologized. Do you still remember your previous investment? The church headquarters sent a high priest. The district priest attached great importance to this and arranged many tasks for me. The Moonlight Church's priest in London is a female magician. Wayne once met her in the West End cemetery. She was about 50 years old, with a thin and slightly old face. According to the information Wayne obtained from Chris, the partition priest's name is Doreen, a golden mage, who is Chris's adoptive mother. But Chris is not the other party's only adopted daughter, she has many brothers and sisters. What else did Wayne want to ask about afterward, but Chris remained silent and refused to mention her extended family. Considering that she has room and board at school and rarely mentions her adoptive mother, it can be judged that she is not happy at home. More people don't mean happiness. This is indeed the case. Chris prefers the carefree Wayne house to the big family of Moonlight Church. That's it? Wayne raised his hand and touched his chin, raised his eyebrows and said, what is the character of the high priest? Is he a man or a woman? Will he bully locals like you because of his status? That's not true. She is an elegant and decent woman, Chris took the initiative to explain, specifically emphasizing the woman to avoid Wayne misunderstanding. What about character? I heard that he has a good temper, is approachable and very tolerant, Chris said truthfully. Truth. I heard that he has a strong personality and is very stern, Chris whispered. Well, the truth. It is said that she is very fierce, and she looks gentle, but in fact, just don't make her angry, Chris said reluctantly. That's all. No more questions. As a member of the church, she didn't want to speak ill of the high priest behind his back. Tigano. Wayne sighed helplessly. Yes, how could an old aunt who was always willing to die with her enemies have a good temper? If she really had a good temper, the Moonlight Church headquarters would not abandon her to London to expand its territory. We're in big trouble now. It's very troublesome. The course is at its most critical moment. Chris hesitated, and finally gritted her teeth and said, while Willie is still learning swordsmanship in the garden, go to your bedroom and I'll show you the shortest skirt. That's so embarrassing. Wayne said with a serious face, Chris, you misunderstood. I don't want to see you wearing stockings, a short skirt, high heels, and an off-the-shoulder sweater. But as a fashion designer, I must get inspiration from models. Chris squinted her eyes and said, so, do you want to look at it or not? Since you asked for it, let's take a look. Huh, after all that, you just want to see it? Chris snorted. Maybe Veronica and Willie didn't know, but she knew that Wayne had bad intentions and always made a fuss about his identity as a fashion designer. He was a complete pervert. How could it be so easy to deceive her? November 6, London Airport. The honor guard in red uniforms lined up neatly, with straight waists and resolute eyes, waiting for the Moonlight Church's special plane to set sail from Paris. Yvette stood at the front with a slight smile, and next to her was Wayne in a white uniform. The latter had a serious expression and looked fearless in vowing to shed his blood for the country. I didn't meet Mustache online today. Maybe he hasn't escaped from jail yet and was busy picking up soap. Wayne, don't be so serious, the person opposite is not a foreign leader, Yvette joked with a smile. She only knew that Wayne had saved Philomena, but did not know the complicated process, so she had high hopes for Wayne. The presence of the savior would at least stabilize Philomena for a while. During this time, the Ministry of Magic can uncover the traitor and the crisis of trust can be easily resolved. Although this thorn has been buried, but to restore the reputation, the Ministry of Magic can shake hands with the Moonlight Church and make peace, and will no longer be as passive as it is now. Wayne nodded, aware of the depressed gaze not far away, and raised his eyebrows and winked at the other person. Chrissy. In addition to the Ministry of Magic, the team that picked up the airport also included members of the Moonlight Church branch. Priest Doreen personally led the team and selected a dozen good-looking church members to serve as a guard of honor. Chris was among them, and when she saw Wayne, who looked like a normal person, he suddenly became furious. Wayne didn't tell her that he would attend the airport pickup ceremony today, and judging from his position, it was obvious that Wayne had another identity. She knew it but didn't tell her, and even pretended to be at a disadvantage to trick her into wearing a skirt. Such a short skirt. Chrissy gritted her teeth, because her adoptive mother was right next to her, so she could only glare at Wayne fiercely. Chris, don't look around. Doreen looked calm and reminded her adopted daughter to pay attention to her manners. What would it look like to flirt with her eyes in public? If the high priest noticed it, he would definitely use it as an excuse to give her a verbal warning. A new official should start with 3 fires. This principle is the same everywhere. Chris bowed her head in grievance, admitted her mistake and apologized. Thinking about Veronica's evaluation of Wayne as a social trash, she agreed with it for a while. I will punish you to copy the text when I assign homework next time. 20 minutes later, a medium-sized passenger plane landed on the runway, turned into the taxiway and stopped more than 10 meters in front of the honor guard. The honor guard pushed the gangway, and the Moonlight Church officially arrived in London. It was still a configuration of 15 people. The leader Philomena covered her delicate face with a veil, and landed on the gangway with a proud look. She looked at the Windsor honor guard at the first time. Yvette Collins, Deputy Minister of Magic, legendary wizard, and member of the Tulip family, Windsor was sincere and gave the Moonlight Church enough face. When the high priest of the same area took office, he did not have this treatment at that time. But soon, Philomena's expression froze. She saw a familiar face next to Yvette, and it was Jack, her savior. Why is he here? Windsor has such a good relationship with the Heavenly Father Church, can he ask someone to speak well of him? No, that uniform. Thoughts flashed through Philomena's mind, and countless conspiracies followed. She suppressed her fear and slowly left the familiar face. So that's it, there is no Jack, she was unnecessary. Philomena was in a bad mood and felt that she was played around by someone. The Ministry of Magic finally got the transaction items, and she had to thank the other party. Okay, honest people deserve to be bullied, right? The mature and beautiful aunt did not show her emotions. Facing Doreen, who greeted her with a smile, she talked to her in a friendly manner. The meaningless conversation left Yvette alone for 10 minutes, and she kept smiling throughout the conversation. As a legendary mage, she really gave the other party enough face. If it weren't for the country behind them, who would be willing to lower their status? 10 minutes later, Philomena led the team to the Guard of Honor and bowed to express her respect to the legendary mage Yvette. Respected legendary mage Ms. Yvette Collins, Golden Mage Philomena Ursula is honored to be greeted by you. Only mentioned the mage level, only talked about the respect of the younger generation for the older generation, and never mentioned the forces behind both sides. Yvette smiled and replied, High Priest, you have been tired from the journey. On behalf of the Windsor Ministry of Magic, I welcome you. You are too polite. Just call me by my name Philomena. Speaking of this, Philomena looked at Wayne and said with a smile, and this golden wizard, you look very familiar. Have we met somewhere before? Maybe, I look more common, and every passerby looks a bit like me. Wayne smiled awkwardly and avoided the other's sharp gaze. It turns out that I recognized the wrong person. Philomena smiled. Yvette was keenly aware of something and said decisively, High Priest, Mr. Wayne is a member of the Ministry of Magic and comes from the Tulip family. In order to express her welcome to you, the Queen specially ordered Mr. Wayne to be the image ambassador of the Ministry of Magic. In the future, he will be your tour guide to show you the prosperous beauty of London. I believe you will like the city. Wayne secretly complained, That's enough, don't sell it, the eyes of the other side are bright. It turns out to be Mr. Wayne. Philomena smiled very kindly, Excuse me, is he just a tour guide? Yvette didn't know the deep meaning behind her smile, and continued to promote Wayne, not only a tour guide, he also represents the goodwill of the Ministry of Magic. I hope that he can resolve the misunderstanding between us. Thank you for your advice. I am very much looking forward to it. Philomena winked at Wayne, very playful. Yvette nodded with satisfaction. This look was too ambiguous. She was worthy of being the heir of the Landau family. She said one thing in front of her and another behind her back. She was good at dealing with women. Do a good job, young man, the future of the country is left to you to protect. This is safe. High Priest, please follow me. The Ministry of Magic will host a banquet for you at the headquarters. The camera turned, and the convoy arrived at the White Office building of the West District Ministry of Magic headquarters. Chris and the others were not qualified to enter the venue, so they went back to their homes after the airport pickup. Wayne also wanted to go home, but he couldn't. He stayed with Yvette, smiling all the time, and his face was almost frozen. The welcome banquet started at afternoon tea time and ended at 8 o'clock in the evening. During the period, Philomena was invited to have a good chat with Yvette in the office. No one knew what they talked about, but both parties were satisfied anyway. Philomena accepted the traitor's statement and promised not to be aggressive during the investigation. Yvette also expressed her respect for the Moonlight Church and said that she would not delay too long and would definitely give the other party a satisfactory answer. After the banquet, Philomena said that she was drunk and returned to the hotel to rest. Wayne secretly breathed a sigh of relief and squeezed out the last bit of smile. Anyway, today was over. As for what to do tomorrow, the unlucky one is Wayne tomorrow, and it has nothing to do with him. Yvette, I'm not familiar with Lendham. I might get lost if I go back to the hotel directly. Could you please ask Mr. Wayne to show me the way? Since leaving the office, Philomena and Yvette have been calling each other by their first names, and it seems that they get along very well. Of course, he is your guide and is always at your disposal. Yvette added meaningfully, anytime. Philomena noticed that the words were not right and suspected that the other party had misunderstood something. Without explanation, she smiled and nodded, thanking the Ministry of Magic for its generosity. She was very satisfied with this arrangement and couldn't wait to return to the hotel. Wayne. There is no such arrangement on the schedule, Ms. Collins, are you adding drama to me? Wayne smiled and looked at Yvette. Before he opened his mouth, he got an encouraging look, which meant that he could do it boldly for the country. Wayne, madam, you see clearly, she wants to eat people. Yvette, young man, don't say such bad things to your elders. Philomena smiled and watched the two exchange glances, and her anger became even worse. Damn Windsor, did you really think she was that kind of shameless woman? She shifted her sights and put them on Wayne. The Ministry of Magic's kindness, right? Haha, she accepted it with a smile. Philomena was drunk and left the White Office building with the help of Wayne's gentleman. She made several mistakes and stepped on Wayne's feet. Sorry, I drank too much, Mr. Wayne, are you okay? I deserve it. Sorry, I stepped on you again. Looking at the backs of the two people leaving, Yvette shook her head. She didn't understand it. It didn't feel like love. After a moment of silence, Yvette probably understood it, and she imagined the plot of pulling up her pants and disappearing, and then being caught. Young people nowadays have such a messy relationship, can't they practice magic well? The black luxury car stopped at a manor in the west of London. This is the property of the Moonlight Church, and it will become Philomena's private residence for some time in the future. Philomena got out of the car, staring at Wayne with a pair of eyes. Doreen walked up, curious about why Philomena brought people from the Ministry of Magic back. I don't want to talk about business tonight. Let's go to the church base tomorrow. Philomena continued to stare at Wayne. Please chat with me for a while, Mr. Wayne. I'm curious about how the Ministry of Magic plans to shirk responsibility. It's all misunderstandings. My appearance can prove everything. Let's talk about it inside. There are no single men and women. The manor is very large, and two other female magicians with cold expressions have moved in. The two 8-point faces, because they look exactly the same, add 2 points on the spot. Wayne was drinking tea in the living room, sitting upright and serious. The two female magicians guarded him until an hour later, when Philomena came to the living room in a bathrobe. Long legs were looming, and long hair was combed into a ponytail and casually placed on one shoulder. Wayne's eyelids trembled. Auntie, your hairstyle is very dangerous. Verna, there is nothing for you here. I want to talk to Mr. Wayne alone. With the order of the High Priest, the twin female magicians left the living room and set up 2 barriers of sound insulation and blockade. Wayne's eyelids jumped. Soundproofing was understandable, and closing the door was unnecessary. He stood up and took the initiative to say, High Priest, it's already late. Staying up late is the enemy of beauty. I won't disturb your rest. Mr. Wayne, the Ministry of Magic didn't ask you to come for tea. Don't you want to clear up the misunderstanding? Philomena snorted coldly, seeing you appear at the airport, I'm worried that I've been deceived by the Ministry of Magic again. Wayne explained, is there a possibility that the Ministry of Magic didn't deceive you, and you are really a traitor, otherwise I wouldn't kill my own people. It doesn't make sense logically. The effect was average. Philomena directly pointed out the loophole, that's the grudge within your Ministry of Magic. You are a member of the Ministry of Magic. You couldn't have failed to recognize the dragon blood transformation at that time. I just joined the Ministry of Magic 2 days ago. Wayne was very aggrieved. A golden wizard who just joined the Ministry of Magic, Philomena sneered. When did the Ministry of Magic in Windsor become so luxurious that even a golden wizard has to queue up? I'm not a golden wizard. Wayne whispered and told the truth concisely, there are traitors in the Ministry of Magic. The royal family is very eager to cooperate with the Moonlight Church. My appearance in Lucerberg is just an accident. I was arranged as an image ambassador because I am too kind. I saved you by meddling in other people's business. It is my punishment to let you send me around. Being a good person but being punished, Philomena frowned, not knowing what she was thinking. Yes, that's it. Wayne gave a thumbs up. In fact, I am also a victim. If you really retaliate against me, not only will you be fooled by the Ministry of Magic, but there will be one less passionate and upright good man in the world. Honest Mr. Jack. Philomena sneered. He cheated her once and wanted to cheat her a second time. Does she look easy to cheat? It's up to you, but I'll make it clear that I won't give you the sword. Wayne lay down on the sofa. He would be a fool if he tried to be a good person again. Philomena sneered twice, sat next to Wayne, and tempted him. It can be seen that you have a lot of resentment towards the Ministry of Magic. They don't deserve your kindness. Do you want to consider joining the Moonlight Church? Wayne was confused. What was going on? Why did he come back to this after so many twists and turns? Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 175. Wayne turned to look at Philomena, and seeing that her expression did not seem to be joking, he could not figure out what this woman was thinking for a moment. Thinking of the information he had learned from Chris, he had some guesses in his mind. This woman is not a good person, she came to Windsor to cause trouble. Wayne stood up and kept a safe distance from Philomena, shaking his head and saying, when we met, the deputy minister introduced me to you. I am not only a member of the Ministry of Magic, but also from the Tulip family. I am a member of the royal family in life and a ghost of the royal family in death. It is impossible for me to betray the Ministry of Magic and join the Moonlight Church. As he said this, he held his head high and said proudly, I have been practicing magic for so many years, and I have only understood two things. One is the Queen printed on the Constitution, and the other is the Queen wearing a crown. You mean, I have to pay more? This is not a question of paying more. Wayne complained, metaphor, do you understand? What I mean is that I am very loyal and only serve the Queen. Well, too loyal. Philomena chuckled. The purity of the free wizards in the Windsor Ministry of Magic is very high, and most of the wizards from the Tulip family have no faith at all. Faith has become a business, and loyalty is naturally for sale. It's good that you understand. So, how much more money do you have to pay to make you take the Queen wearing the crown seriously and the Queen printed on the Constitution seriously? Philomena said straightforwardly. She sat on the sofa with her legs crossed, her long legs folded together, the hem of her silk bathrobe slipped down, and her long white legs were exposed. Good legs, with garters, it's a killer. Auntie, I'll take you to the stocking store tomorrow. Wayne glanced at it and shook his head. Thank you for your generosity, but it's a pity that you are too old. I'm still young, and you deserve a younger girl. I suggest you try another one. The Chris I saw at the airport today is good. Philomena's smile was stiff. She didn't intend to seduce. After all, she was the high priest of the district. Even if she used a beauty trick, she would not do it herself. The bathrobe slipped down by itself. But Wayne's words really pissed Philomena off. She was not old, and she was very proud of her charm. After all, she was an ant who had seen the world, so she quickly calmed down and slowly put her bathrobe back in place. Wayne, you were blamed by the Ministry of Magic for saving people, and you were very dissatisfied with their ruthless arrangements, which shows that you have no loyalty to this organization. Our Moonlight Church is different. We encourage and praise kindness. It's hard to say. Without the beauty filter, the bumpy white moonlight is not beautiful. Wayne said, I said that apart from my identity in the Ministry of Magic, I am still a member of the Tulip family and will only be loyal to the Queen. Even if I agree and swear to work for the Moonlight Church, you will not trust me. Forget about job hopping. It's good for everyone. It's impossible to poach people. In Wayne's view, Philomena just wants to get information from the Ministry of Magic from him. If he is a little bolder, his aunt thinks that her amazing charm can turn him into a licking dog and harm the Ministry of Magic to achieve the purpose of revenge. Too much trouble. Wayne advised Philomena to try someone else. He just wanted to hold the goddess thigh and study hard every day, and didn't want to participate in these grudges and vendettas. Philomena frowned. She was serious. She was not joking. She really wanted to dig into the Ministry of Magic. She knew how terrible the pollution of the Star Beast was. She knew how precious Wayne's value was. She wanted to get Wayne both publicly and privately. Just looking at Wayne's complaints about the Ministry of Magic, she believed that she could dig into the corner. If she didn't succeed, it was just because she didn't pay enough. So, you should quote a price. The atmosphere was a little silent. Both sides were waiting for the other side to quote. During the period, they chatted awkwardly. Half an hour later, Philomena looked at the clock. That's it for today. We had a great time chatting. We will continue tomorrow. It's only been half an hour. Who are you looking down on? Wayne knew what Philomena meant. It was just to sow discord. Only children would use this trick, and they didn't care. If he used it, he would definitely plant lip marks on the other side's face. At least, a stamp should be placed on the collar. Just as Wayne was leaving, Philomena smiled sweetly and counted on her fingers. Invite me to afternoon tea tomorrow, and then take me to visit the famous attractions in London. I will also listen to a musical in the evening. Don't be late. What a lot of requests. Wayne curled his lips and replied, I promise to complete the task. Please be quiet during this period and cooperate with me to complete the task. That depends on your performance. Philomena raised her hand and looked at her nails, and said in a teasing tone, if you don't make me happy, I can hardly guarantee that I won't complain to the Ministry of Magic. You treat your savior like this. Philomena was silent for a moment, and then said, I represent the church, it is impossible for me to say nothing. Then I have no problem. The double barrier dissipated, Wayne left the manor, and Philomena called two followers. Arrange it, let Doreen find out who he is and which tulip family he is from. As she said, she added, tell Doreen that this is the first task I gave her, don't let me down. Early the next morning, Philomena arrived at the Moonlight Church base. Priest Doreen led a team to greet her, followed by her boys and girls, no, her adopted sons and daughters, and there were more than 20 people present. Due to restrictions from the royal family, the Moonlight Church only has one golden mage, Doreen, to act as a front in Windsor. Even if the royal family relaxes the restrictions, the top leader of the Moonlight Church in Windsor can only have the cultivation of a golden mage. This is seriously incompatible with the size of the Moonlight Church. Doesn't match. The Moonlight Church headquarters sees this as an opportunity to seize on the stain of the Ministry of Magic and make a fuss about it, forcing the royal family to back down and install a legendary mage in the Windsor division. This was a task given to Philomena by the headquarters. She didn't think much about it. Her primary purpose was to avenge her dead companions. Philomena summoned Doreen alone in the office, who handed over the collected intelligence and told the story of the Moonlight Church's struggles in recent years. Eloquent paragraph: generally speaking, the royal family is not a good person and bullies honest people in various ways. Now that the high priest is here, the Windsor subdivision will be saved. A very ordinary flattery, which can be regarded as Doreen's statement. She has no extra thoughts and just wants to assist the high priest. She works hard and has no complaints. Philomena heard it, put down the information in her hand, and wondered, is this information true? According to the information, Wayne is the heir to the Landau family and the illegitimate son of Alston. He is also the high priest of the Natural Church and a student of Alston's wife Hepe, and serves as the pastor of the Natural Church. The most outrageous thing is that the information clearly states that Wayne is very young and is not yet 25 this year. Philomena always thought that Wayne was at least 35 or 40, about the same age as her, but it turned out. Is the Wayne in the investigation report the same person as the Wayne in her impression? Could there be some mistake? How could the Golden Mage be so young? He is still a child. He is still a child. The corners of Philomena's mouth twitched. No wonder she thought she was old. After such a comparison, she was indeed not young anymore. Doreen nodded. The information was accurate. If there were any omissions, it could only be said that the Moonlight Church had limited power in Windsor and could not find out more. He also funded the Moonlight Church to build a stronghold. Philomena squinted her eyes and smiled playfully. She knew that people in the Ministry of Magic had no faith at all. Mr. Wayne did invest in Moonlight Church, but that was to build a library. He himself probably didn't know about the agreement signed between the church and the royal family, Doreen added. How could he not know? Philomena sneered inwardly and said to Doreen, who got the investment from him? Let someone come over. I still have some questions to ask. This. Doreen hesitated and said respectfully, Chris is my adopted daughter. She has a firm belief and is extremely loyal to the church. I hope the high priest will not embarrass her. Don't worry, I only ask a few questions. Please wait a moment. 10 minutes later, Chris followed Doreen into the office, bowing very nicely. Only then did Philomena notice that she had met Chris at the airport. Looking at her youthful face, she couldn't help but complain in her heart. It's great to be young. You are Chris, right? You are so beautiful. Philomena waved Doreen to leave, pointed to the chair in front of the desk, and said with a smile, sit down, don't be nervous, I just have a few questions to ask you. Rightward arrow. Chrissy nodded and saw Philomena smiling kindly and marveling at the other person's beauty. As a girl, she couldn't help but feel moved. Chris, are you familiar with Wayne? Ah, this. Chris blinked, not understanding what the high priest was asking Wayne for, and replied truthfully, I have known him for half a year. We are ordinary friends. At his invitation, I would come to his door every night to give him tutoring lessons. This kind of relationship can't be called ordinary friends, right? Chrissy smiled. It was really ordinary. Wayne had developed several relationships like hers. Philomena continued to ask, what lessons did you give Wayne? Please be more detailed. This is very important. Chris secretly complained that the high priest seemed to be investigating Wayne. Should she say it or not? If any important information was revealed, Wayne would definitely be angry if he found out. Seeing Chris frowning and hesitating, Philomena put on a straight face and said, Chris, do you think love or faith is more important? Chris was dumbfounded. High priest, you misunderstood. I don't like Wayne. I'm really just an ordinary friend, and I won't like him in the future. I know, I will meet with Wayne this afternoon, and I will tell him these words truthfully, Philomena said seriously. Chris, winky face, ha ha ha, I won't tease you anymore. To tell you the truth, Wayne saved my life in Lucerberg some time ago. Without him, I would definitely die. Philomena smiled and said, I have a good impression of him, don't be surprised, it's not your kind of liking. I'm just curious about what kind of person he is when I investigate him. Philomena talked about the cooperation between the Moonlight Church and the Windsor Ministry of Magic. Because Wayne saved her, she was arranged to be the image ambassador of the Ministry of Magic. In order for the two parties to cooperate better, she must understand Wayne's personality preferences. Chrissy breathed a sigh of relief. It's not like she just likes him. No, it's not just about causing trouble for Wayne. She said cautiously, High Priest, he is a good man and has saved me before. For this reason, I am embarrassed to refuse to make up lessons for him every night. They are all basic theories of magic and do not involve Moonlight's belief. He just became a magician not long ago, and he just recently. Wait a minute. Philomena raised her hand to interrupt, with a faint look in her eyes. He just became a magician not long ago. Chris, is the information accurate? Very accurate. It was March. I discovered that he had the potential to become a magician and was a genius. I planted the seeds of magic for him and led him to feel the brilliance of the goddess. Only then did he start to come into contact with magic. Chrissy nodded firmly, yes, she came first. Whether it was guiding Wayne on the path to magic or teaching him magic knowledge, she was the one who came first. March. Philomena's heartbeat quickened and she squinted her eyes as she said, but as far as I know, Wayne is the pastor of the Natural Church and has nothing to do with our Moonlight Church. Chris was extremely aggrieved and said, full of resentment, if everything went well, he should have become a disciple of the goddess, but because his qualifications were so good, he was discovered by the high priest of the Church of Nature and became his student. Is there such a thing? Philomena didn't believe it, and then she became furious and slammed the table and stood up. This is unreasonable. That woman dares to rob me. She is also a member of the Life Alliance, so she has to be shameless. That's it? Chrissy nodded her head, because Xife was Veronica's mother, and out of respect for her elders, she only dared to complain in her heart and never said anything with her mouth. Philomena was furious. According to Chris, Wayne had been labeled by the Moonlight Church long ago. She became the high priest, and Wayne was just a soldier under her. Now he has nothing. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, and I wanted to rush to the Church of Nature to ask Xife for an explanation. High Priest, it's too late to say this now. Wayne is already a silver mage and has come into contact with faith magic. Chris persuaded in a low voice that Wayne was already in the shape of the goddess of nature. Taking it away would not change anything. The only blame was that the Moonlight Church was not strong enough in Windsor and could not hold on to the good things it had. These words are somewhat arrogant, which shows that Chris is indeed resentful in her heart. Again, she came first. Philomena was so angry that she walked back and forth in the office. She was so greedy for Wayne that she was almost drooling. Finally, she was shocked to hear the bad news. The soldiers who were supposed to be her subordinates were intercepted by her allies. If you want to rob people now, you have to pay an unimaginable price. Spending money to buy your own things is nothing. The Ministry of Magic bullies honest people, and allies also bully honest people. When will honest people stand up? As for the Sun Church, does it also feel that honest people deserve to be bullied? Chris tried to persuade her a few more times, but the effect was average. Philomena was so angry that she couldn't listen to anything. After a long time, Philomena gradually calmed down. She had just arrived in London, and her foundation was unstable and her strength was insufficient. Even for the benefit of the church, she could not fall out with her allies. However, it was absolutely impossible for her to swallow this bad breath. She had to find a way to take revenge and return, otherwise she would not be able to sleep well during her beauty sleep. Philomena stared at Chris, thinking of ways to get revenge. In the Silver Mage stage, magicians come into contact with faith magic. The Life Alliance is quite special. In addition to their own faith magic, they can also practice the faith magic of their allies. The three are combined into life magic. Philomena thought something was wrong. Yes, she was a step late, and Wayne took the shape of the goddess of nature, but being late also had the advantage of being late. It was easy to use, and after using it a few times, Wayne might not be able to expand into the shape of the goddess of moonlight. Philomena didn't mind it, just pretending that Wayne was practicing his skills outside. "Chris, you said you would tutor Wayne every night, right?" After these basic courses are completed, I approve you to teach him the faith magic of the Moonlight Church. You can teach him all the knowledge," Philomena said solemnly. This. Chris suddenly understood the plan of the high priest, and she was quite eager to try it. She said dryly, "It's not appropriate. After all, he is the pastor of the Church of Nature. If his teacher finds out, he will accuse us of robbing our allies. This is a task given to you by the Church. If something happens, I will take the responsibility. Just follow it." Philomena sneered and looked out the window. "Besides, this is not a robbery, we are just getting back what belongs to us." Chrissy nodded repeatedly. She was right. It was just taking back what was taken away. This was divine revenge and a counter-attack launched by the victim. It was shameless. Seeing Chris' high morale, Philomena continued, "Just imparting knowledge is not safe. When you are making up lessons." She gave instructions and told some details about the make-up lessons. "Such and such, such and such, will definitely make Wayne want to stop." Honey trap. Chrissy didn't feel anything after hearing this. It was such a childish trick. "High priest, where did you come from, an innocent girl? These things are not as fancy as she and Wayne usually play." After Philomena finished speaking, she still had some unfinished thoughts. These were things she wanted to try but had never tried before. They were very exciting. Teaching them to Chris gave her a sense of accomplishment as a teacher. Soon, she realized something was wrong. It stands to reason that when the innocent little girl Chris heard the shameful advice, she should have blushed and shook her head desperately to refuse to obey. She reluctantly agreed under her combined kindness and power. Result: "Why don't you blush? As the saying goes, as long as I am not embarrassed, others will be embarrassed." Chris did not blush, but Philomena was a little embarrassed. Thinking about it, it is normal for a young person in love to kiss and touch her, but she has long been tired of it. On the contrary, because she talked too much, she exposed the fact that she was inexperienced. X2. Ahem. Philomena clenched her fist and coughed lightly, concluding, "In short, you have a heavy task. Wayne is the heir of the Landau family. It is very important for the church to win him over." "What?" Chris's face suddenly changed. "Wayne is the heir of the Landau family. You don't know?" Philomena was surprised and pointed to the information on the table. "He is the illegitimate son of Austin Landau, the head of the Landau family. Everyone knows it. Didn't he tell you?" He didn't say it, and I knew it for the first time." Chris's face was even more shocked. It didn't matter whether Wayne told her or not. The key was whether Wayne told Veronica. "Veronica, wake up, Wayne is your brother, you can't be together. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 176. Seeing that Chris was shocked, confused, and even a little scared, Philomena hurriedly said, "He must have a reason for not telling you. Believe me, he can lend a helping hand to strangers and is definitely a good person, he will be responsible. I know he's a good guy, I just. Thinking of the complicated relationship between Veronica and Wayne, Chris looked confused. It was impossible for the two siblings not to know about such an important matter. In other words, they clearly knew that. Is this the upper class? It's ridiculous. Chris continued to be shocked, her little mouth couldn't close, which was very cute. In Philomena's eyes, this was the rhythm of a girl's concept of love collapsing. She regretted that she shouldn't have said too much, and then thought about it. Wayne did not tell his true identity and made it clear that he was going to pull up his pants and turn his face and deny anyone. In the future, the Landau family, the lady will not be Chrissy. If she continues to encourage girls to jump into the fire pit, it will only create a tragedy. But for the sake of the church. Philomena gritted her teeth and was about to give the order, when she suddenly woke up. She was really old, and her behavior was becoming more and more like a vicious old witch. She sighed and patted Chris on the shoulder. Forget it, this responsibility shouldn't be borne by you. Just be yourself and don't have to pay too much. Chris came back to her senses and couldn't keep up with Philomena's rhythm at all. She didn't understand why. High Priest, the revenge plan has been cancelled. Why cancel? The plan is perfect. Wayne and Veronica are destined not to get together. Without this competitor, she has a great advantage. What, Willie? Little Willie is ridiculous and can be conquered with a little trick. Just as she was thinking about it, Chris realized that the rhythm was wrong. She hadn't noticed it before. She didn't know when she started to take the initiative to compete. It can't be called taking the initiative. She does it for the church, not because she really likes it. And Veronica is really not good. Yes, that's it. High Priest, I think the plan can be executed. Chris mustered up her courage and volunteered, please believe me, for the sake of the church and the goddess, I will definitely get back what I lost. Philomena waved her hand, what a good child, she shouldn't be exposed to such a dirty world. The more determined Chris was, the more sinful she felt, and she finally rejected the plan directly. Chris sat down with a look of disappointment. Without external pressure, she couldn't find the courage to actively compete. Don't tell anyone what happened today, including your adoptive mother, especially Wayne. You must not tell him, Philomena warned. Chrissy nodded. At this time, Philomena said again, it was my lack of consideration before. Wayne may be a good person, but he is not a good man. He is not worthy of your love. If you fall into this trap before it is too late, you will regret it. This was what Philomena said from the bottom of her heart. The scumbag was just having fun and advised Chris to get out as soon as possible. High Priest, have you misunderstood something? Chris was dumbfounded. Of course she knew Wayne was a pervert, but it wasn't as exaggerated as Philomena described. Just do whatever you want, I've said everything I need to say. Philomena waved her hand and then asked, how far have you two developed? Chris's face turned red, we're just ordinary friends, we haven't started to develop yet. It's weird to believe you, it's obviously like this and that. Philomena didn't believe it and whispered to Chris, don't be afraid. Regardless of the relationship with the church, this is the care of the elders for you and they don't want you to suffer. I didn't suffer much. Chris muttered softly. Then just eat it. Philomena said in Chris's ear, did you pass that? No. Chris categorically denied it and proved for Wayne, Wayne is not a pervert, he is not that kind of pervert, he is a gentleman. Halfway through her words, Chris could no longer speak, so she simply swore her faith to prove that Wayne had never done anything excessive to her. Have you ever kissed? No, I just touched my hands, there was no other physical contact. Chris lowered her head, her ears very red. What? You look very experienced. I bet you are also an innocent girl. Philomena curled her lips and said for a long time, but the other person was nothing, just pretending to make her embarrassed. She didn't hate it. She felt like she was getting younger when she was discussing love with young people, so she said, putting aside the plan for the time being, I will spend time with Wayne day and night for some time in the future. I will observe first. If he is really a good man, it's not too late for you to execute your plan. Ah! Chris's mouth opened wide. She didn't know how the high priest observed. She only knew that Wayne didn't know how to refuse. The more free benefits he got, the better. The two of them got along day and night, and nothing happened. High priest, Wayne, he lied to women. I've made up my mind, that's it. Philomena decided directly that no matter what, she would take back the things of Moonlight Church. In the silver stage, you can reject the pollution from the giant beasts in the starry sky, and you can also help others refuse it. What about the gold stage? Can you freely enter and exit the starry sky without going crazy? He is a genius of the Moonlight Church, and it is worth paying no matter how much he pays. Philomena glanced at Chris. Don't panic, little girl, I won't steal your boyfriend. The high priest will explore the way ahead and you can go forward after clearing the obstacles. There are many obstacles, first and foremost the Ministry of Magic. This was easy to solve. Wayne was dissatisfied with the Ministry of Magic, and the Ministry of Magic was dissatisfied with Wayne, so they broke up after a little estrangement. She will take this step herself. Next is the Natural Church, the biggest trouble. Philomena thought a lot. She knew that Wayne was a genius, and the Church of Nature must also know that. High Priest Xive personally went to the scene to rob people as proof. Although she came first, the magic world doesn't talk about reason but only about strength. It's hard to succeed by force, so you still have to win over through faith in magic. She will leave this step to Chris. But the premise is that the child cannot be pushed into the fire pit. The upper class is very dirty and she has to confirm it herself. Looking at Chris's leaving back, Philomena frowned. If both parties were good children, the plan could be executed smoothly, but if Wayne was just a dirty upper class person, what should we do? You have to fight for the upper class, he is worth the price. Philomena made the decision to operate on the Ministry of Magic first, tearing open the rift of trust, cutting off the strings, and making the Ministry of Magic completely give up on Wayne. Huh, this is your kindness, I won't be polite. On Chris's side, after leaving the office, she met her adoptive mother Doreen, who asked what the high priest had told her. She couldn't say much and only said it was some information about the image ambassador. After saying that, he left the church stronghold and headed straight for Landau Manor. Halfway through, Chris stopped. The brother and sister knew about each other's relationship, and pretending to be dumbfounded was just because they couldn't let go. She made it clear to her face that she would only drift away from her two friends. It's such a mess. I hope they don't go too far and make mistakes they shouldn't make. Chris felt that the responsibility on her shoulders was heavy. She had to pay close attention, otherwise the brother and sister would cause a tragedy, and she would not feel comfortable. As for the other possibility that Wayne was the heir, Chris had preconceived ideas and listened to professional intelligence, so she didn't think about it that way. She had met Austin, and she had to say that he looked so much like Veronica that she had just picked him up. Hey, Veronica couldn't have picked it up, right? It's 2 o'clock, tea time. Wayne drove to the manor and, under the supervision of the twin female magicians, sat in the living room drinking tea while waiting for Philomena to finish her makeup. Philomena was probably the female magician that Wayne cared about most about appearance and manners. He didn't think it was necessary. She was very beautiful and looked stunning even without makeup. The Golden Mage's life essence is powerful. As long as he is willing, he will remain young forever and is destined to have nothing to do with aging. Philomena's persistence is nothing more than psychological trouble. She feels that she is getting old, has lost her youthful mentality, and lacks confidence. Half an hour later, Philomena Chiron walked downstairs, her exquisite makeup making her even more beautiful. Wayne was secretly surprised, but somehow, maybe because he had seen the other person's tentacle form, he lost the initial throbbing of first love. A late afternoon tea was booked at a high-end hotel in the West District, followed by a 2-hour sightseeing trip. Philomena took a lot of photos to record her beauty in her prime. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the two enjoyed an authentic French meal and drove to the concert hall. Wayne spent a lot of money. All 3 performances including afternoon tea, dinner, and musical were reserved, focusing on the inhumanity of the show. It goes through the public account and the Ministry of Magic reimburses it. There is no need to save money for those rotten people. Concert hall. A musical that could be Hamlet is being staged, in 4 acts, with a total duration of 3.5 hours. Ridiculously long. Philomena refused the box with a better view and chose the first floor near the stage. She sat next to Wayne with a smile and held his arm. Wayne glanced at the other party and said bluntly, "High Priest, this trick won't work on me. Don't waste your expression. Find someone younger. Those little girls at the airport are good. They deserve me. Call me Mina." "Okay, High Priest." "Mina." "Got it, High Priest." Philomena rolled her eyes and was about to say something when she saw Wayne was slacking off in his work, leaning his head to the side, pretending to be asleep. This is not the behavior of a gentleman. Gentlemen like movies, not musicals, Wayne replied in his sleep. Then go see a movie tomorrow. Philomena looked forward to it, and her acting skills were not inferior to those of the actors on the stage. Wayne didn't reply and started snoring. Philomena frowned slightly, pinched Wayne's arm with 2 fingers, rotated it slightly, and reminded, "If you don't satisfy me, I will not remain silent at the Ministry of Magic." "Got it, shut your mouth now." Wayne was no longer sleepy. He straightened his back and watched the play with Philomena. His eyes were blank, not knowing what was being sung. It's a lot of nonsense, the lines are lame, and the main theme is pretentious. After watching it for a long time, I realized that today I will play Prince's Revenge. Not as good as King Kong. Speaking of King Kong, the movie hasn't been released yet, so if you ask, it's fast, if you ask again, it's a process. You don't like musicals, or don't you like watching musicals with me? High Priest, everything is the mission of the Ministry of Magic. I will satisfy you. Please restrain yourself and stop flirting. They are not fools. You can't fool anyone. You will still suffer the loss. Wayne was persuasive, and the softness on his arms was very comfortable, but he didn't like this false intimacy. If it was 3 ships, or even Mona, he would be happy to enjoy it. Philomena wasn't very good at it. Her thick makeup was like a mask, which only made him feel uncomfortable when she was caring. Wayne's eyes lit up and he figured out why his first love disappeared. The makeup is too thick, I feel like I'm dating an old lady. The little head is afraid of the whip ball that may appear at any time, and the big head listens to the little head, so I can't cheer up. This is what a dual-core processor looks like. Wayne, I received a very important intelligence today. What intelligence? Is it related to the traitor in the Ministry of Magic? Wayne was in high spirits, and he was really not sleepy now. Watch the show, and talk about it after you finish watching it. Hey, you old woman, do you believe that I can blow up your mask with 1 punch? Wayne hummed, and Philomena smiled at the corner of her mouth. The Prince's Revenge, taking back everything he lost. Don't you think the scene is familiar? Wayne didn't know what the other party was talking about, and nodded perfunctorily. You have big breasts, so what you say is what it is. At 11 o'clock in the evening, the long musical ended, and Wayne numbly followed Philomena away. He is a rough man with limited artistic bacteria, and he can't appreciate such high-end nonsense literature. Philomena was very happy. She held Wayne's arm, pretending that they were having an affair, and tried her best to throw dirty water on Wayne. Wayne did not refuse. She was really soft and fragrant. As for whether the Ministry of Magic would suspect anything. Isn't this what you asked for? Do everything possible to satisfy her. The black car returned to the manor. Wayne was about to say goodbye, but was blocked in the living room by the double seal. He was too lazy to pretend. He kicked off his leather shoes and slumped on the sofa. Philomena finished her bath and came to the living room in her nightgown. Seeing the makeup box in her hand, Wayne felt very involved and couldn't help laughing. Any questions? Philomena tightened her collar, mistakenly thinking that she was exposed. No, there is no problem. I hope the high priest will not mind if I say something offensive. Wayne stared at Philomena's face and said very seriously, you are more beautiful without makeup than with makeup. Time has stopped on you, but it has not faded your brilliant youth. On the contrary, because of the precipitation of mature temperament, your charm is even more amazing. Philomena exclaimed softly, want to hear more? Wayne was very considerate and said to his first love on October 27, true beauty will never fade and will not be defeated by time. You are such a beauty. Philomena was very happy to hear this. Although she knew that Wayne was deliberately saying nice things, she couldn't help but believe it. Wayne rolled his eyes and saw that the other party was neither cheering nor blushing, so he knew that the mask was still there. Auntie was too troublesome. He still liked female college students who had just graduated. Philomena put down her makeup box, sat opposite Wayne, took out the night cream and wiped it. You don't have to leave tonight. You know what I mean. The Ministry of Magic doesn't want you, but I do. There is no trust between you. It can't stand the test. Too obvious. Wayne couldn't help but give advice, denial is concealment, concealment is the truth will only be denied, not announced openly. The closer you and I are, the more the Ministry of Magic trusts me. Listen to me and keep a certain distance from me every day, it will definitely work. Philomena smiled but didn't say anything. The hem of her bathrobe slipped off, and the night cream was applied to her long legs. Wayne looked straight ahead and said enthusiastically, do you want help? It's more appropriate for me to do this kind of rough work. Is this what you call distance? No, this is respect for your charm. Philomena rolled her eyes. This man didn't say a word of truth. Chris would only be fooled around. It would be safer for her to do it. She moved to sit next to Wayne and handed over the night cream. No way, Auntie, are you serious? Wayne was extremely surprised. He knew that there were bonuses for being a hero and saving a beautiful woman, but he didn't expect so many bonuses. There's something strange. He looked at the night cream in his hand, then at the long legs in front of him, and with the dual-core processor running, he decisively touched them. I want to see what's strange. Philomena's eyelids jumped, but she wanted to change Chris to execute the plan. In order to hide the embarrassment and show that she is an experienced person, she smiled slightly, raised her foot and tapped Wayne's chest. I got a piece of information today. You should have been a believer of the Moonlight Church, but you were taken away by the Natural Church. Don't look at it, I'm asking you a question. Philomena retracted her legs in a bad mood. Please act to lead the rhythm, she has no atmosphere here. She retracted them twice, but she didn't retract them. Wayne held his ankle in front of his chest. There were too many things to see. He took time out of his busy schedule to perfunctorily say, that's what I said, but that's all in the past. It's better not to mention the past, let alone now. Death, God, nature, the sun, etc. are all in a long queue. On the contrary, the moonlight that came first is worse than darkness, nothing. If you want him to go back, you have to pay more. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 177. Wayne held Philomena's ankle, applied night cream with the other hand, slid his fingertips from the calf to the knee, rubbed the stiff limbs with his palm, and applied some night cream on the thigh. Philomena's smile remained unchanged, as if she had seen every scene before, but her hands tightly pressing the hem of her clothes and her stiff body betrayed her. Turns out he is a king of words. Wayne was disdainful. If he dared to show off with such little ability, he was clearly seeking his own death. He has a kind heart and will kill Philomena's shame today. Nice legs. Wayne exclaimed in amazement and commented on Philomena's beautiful legs, saying that her skin was delicate, smooth, and elastic, her curves were slender and soft, and they were also long and smooth. They emitted white light under the light, as if they were a piece of exquisite art. The voice was very loud, I said it in such a shameful way, I acted like a pervert, and after I finished speaking, I swallowed hard. It doesn't look like acting at all. After wiping one leg, Wayne rubbed it with his fingertips, paused for a moment, savored the aftertaste, tilted his head and looked deep into the hem of his clothes. He let go of the long leg, smiled slightly at Philomena, and when the latter was able to breathe, he suddenly held the other leg, raised it high and put the sole of his foot against his chest. Ah! Philomena exclaimed, her heartbeat accelerated rapidly, her cheeks turned slightly red, and her breathing became short. What's the matter, High Priest? Wayne's smile was very playful, and he didn't rush to apply night cream and wait for the other party's reply. Wayne, are you able to continue? Philomena, just keep going. He persisted until he gave up halfway, and all previous efforts were in vain, especially Wayne's eyes, which were full of provocation, making Philomena particularly unhappy. You are a tool man who does rough work, a functional product, a servant, a handyman, what is there to be proud of? Be gentle, it just hurt me. I see, I thought the high priest was shy. Wayne suddenly understood, and while apologizing for his rudeness, he said, think about it, at your age and in a high position, you have never seen anything. How can you be shy if you are so young? He continued to apply the night cream. High priest, you should pay attention to your maintenance. Look at your leg muscles. They are as hard as stones. Don't let the work pressure crush you, otherwise you will age quickly. Having said that, some curves are beautiful but superficial. The pressure of life erodes the energetic body. Fatigue and weakness will cause muscles to relax, and the skin will lose its elasticity and become full of wrinkles. Just like those GG cosmetics, they can be exaggerated no matter how exaggerated they are. Wayne could tell that Philomena cared very much about her appearance, and any word related to aging would hit her hard. As expected, Philomena immediately took the bait, that's really nice to say. You know women very well. Of course, it is not ruled out that she would change the topic and draw attention away from Wayne's magical palm. Very understanding. Wayne was full of confidence, holding his calf with his palms, kneading the tight and stiff curves. To be polite, the high priest can go out and inquire. Looking at London now, I claim to know the second best woman, no one dares to claim that first. Such a scumbag. Philomena subconsciously shrank her legs. If this was the case, then she would stop playing. Wayne held onto his ankle tightly and raised his eyebrows at Philomena. I am a women's clothing designer. Do you know that stockings are the most popular women's product in London? I design them. Philomena was stunned for a moment and said in disbelief, did you design it? She knew about silk stockings. She was resting in Paris 2 days ago and saw the silk stockings under the brand of Ziffy Valentine. She fell in love with them at that time. She couldn't find the source of the stock, but she only learned about the imported silk stockings after being introduced to them. Windsor London from across the sea. At that time, she thought about snapping up a few pairs when she arrived in London. She never expected that the designer was right in front of her, still touching her legs. I'm asking you a question, stop touching it. Sorry, It feels so good, it's a bit addictive. Wayne made no secret of the fact that he was a pervert, there was no need for it, not to mention touching her, and Philomena, his first love, was not worthy of his pretense. Since ancient times, sincerity has been exchanged for sincerity. If you don't have good intentions, you will only get bad intentions. Continue talking about stockings. Where did you get the inspiration? Are there any other products that haven't been released yet? Philomena was particularly enthusiastic. Inspiration comes from a good pair of legs on the train. Because the owner of the legs is a teacher, Wayne couldn't mention it and jumped directly to the next topic. There are indeed many products that have not been released, such as women's underwear. He glanced deep into the clothes and sneered, a bad style is neither beautiful nor practical, and your aesthetic is no more than that. Philomena was furious, thought about it, pressed her bathrobe again, and said unconvinced, take out your product, I want to see how beautiful and practical it is. Can't do it? Wayne shook his head, the product is not yet on the market. If the design concept is leaked because of showing it to you, the designer, will have to pay a lot of money to the company. That means no, Philomena challenged. There are no new products, but there are old ones. Wayne reached up and took out a pair of stockings from his pants pocket, opened the package and helped Philomena put them on. Why do you carry stockings with you? Philomena felt that Wayne had come prepared. She was about to say something when she found that the posture between the two of them was too ambiguous. The little pervert was almost lying on top of her. Her shame overwhelmed her desire to win and she pushed the pervert away from the sofa. Stand up. She put on her stockings and spun around in a circle. How are you doing? Do they look good? Even more curvy than before. Can rush. Wayne's throat was a little dry, but he had to admit that Philomena was amazingly charming, with almost no flaws in her appearance and figure, and she was also a first-rate model among beauties. I'm asking you a question, stop reading. The corner of Philomena's mouth curled up, very satisfied with Wayne's obsessed attitude. She knew that as long as she personally executed the plan, Gogo pointed her finger at the opponent and he would fall. Chris, you are no match for him. It has nothing to do with you here. It looks very nice, but the bathrobe is a little mismatched, which affects the overall beauty. From the perspective of a fashion designer, I suggest you take off the bathrobe immediately, Wayne said seriously. He is a professional, I believe he can't. Something is wrong. Philomena rolled her eyes and said angrily, where are the women's underwear you designed? Bring it over tomorrow, otherwise I will tell the Ministry of Magic that you are perfunctory. I don't see any good intentions. I only see that you have no regard for the Moonlight Church. There's so much respect. Oh my God, this is power, it's so useful. It was Wayne's turn to roll his eyes. In addition to underwear, I also design a lot of new clothing, suitable for all seasons, and I am confident that each one can lead the fashion trend. Then hand it over. Philomena was so greedy that her saliva almost drooled out, and she was even more dissatisfied with Wayne's appetizing behavior. I can't get it. It would be too troublesome to bring them all. There will be at least 3 wardrobes. Then I'll go to your house. Wayne was speechless. He had already overestimated this woman's love for beauty, but to his surprise, he underestimated it. Philomena realized that she had lost her composure, regained her composure, and said calmly, bring 10 items here every day. As long as you are sincere enough, I will cooperate with your work and will not complain to the Ministry of Magic. 1 piece a day. You want to delay? No, the finished product is available, but the size is not suitable. The company's models are not as tall or long as you, nor do they have your slender waist. Wayne said, glancing at Philomena's chest again. The implication is that the figure is too good and I can't find a finished product that matches my size. The flattering pictures were taken by ordinary people and by professionals, and the effect was different. Philomena was very happy and told Wayne not to stand there stupidly and to go back to work now. You won't let me stay the night tonight. Clothes are important, Philomena said without conscience. She felt that Wayne was right. Being distant and avoiding suspicion would make the Ministry of Magic suspicious. Children who stay overnight every night know that their bodies cannot bear it. Okay, I will bring a finished product tomorrow, but I need to measure the size. Wayne rubbed his hands and apologized for not bringing a tape measure. It's not a big problem. The hands of professional fashion designers are the most accurate measuring tapes. Philomena curled her lips. Everyone knew what a magician had, and they could tell it just by looking at it, so why do they have to take action? To put it bluntly, it's not about taking advantage of the situation. She didn't refuse, she opened her hands openly and asked Wayne to go faster. Rightward arrow. It's just a measurement. It's not like I didn't see it when I was in Lucerberg, so I just implemented the plan. 5 minutes later. Wayne looked at his hands in a daze. It was too easy. He once again faced the bonus of a hero saving a beauty. No wonder the rich kids in the world would hire rogue gangsters to molest good women. This trick was so effective. Be a hero next time. Philomena sat on the sofa with a blushing face, picking up the black tea on the coffee table to cover up her embarrassment. Her heartbeat was too fast, her thoughts were slipping, and she started to have some random thoughts. Wayne looked at Philomena quietly, waited for her to take a few sips, and then said quietly, I drank that cup. Philomena coughed repeatedly, cold air erupted from her palms, she froze the teacup and brewed tea into ice lumps, and stared at the little pervert fiercely. You didn't tell me earlier. Wayne shook his head and advised, how about forget it? I will cooperate with you in pretending to be addicted to women. You will achieve your goal and you don't have to do anything you don't like. My target was never the Ministry of Magic. When it came to business, Philomena quickly returned to normal, gritted her teeth and said, you should have been a disciple of the Moonlight Church. I will win you back and pay for your previous negligence. I will not be wronged. The root of the strategy is wrong. We can spend money. It won't cost much. Wayne kindly reminded him that he was actually very easy to seduce. The Moonlight Church family had a great business, so if they just throw out a few artifacts, he would be the Moonlight Goddess's man. It seems reasonable to say that his silver cross must have a place for moonlight. This was decided from the beginning. It really doesn't cost much to go to the Moonlight Church in both directions. What I want is not a free mage, but a devout moonlight disciple. Philomena made her attitude clear. Loyalty is either absolute or absolutely disloyal. She wants everything from Wayne. Then you shouldn't continue. Wayne spread his hands and said, listen to me, stop teasing. It's still too late to stop the loss. If you continue to act like this, you will be the only one who will lose both people and money. Philomena didn't believe it, she was full of confidence in her own charm, and when she got to that point, she could lose both money and make peace. The nuns are so crazy. Seeing that the other party insisted on giving it away, Wayne couldn't help but feel his scalp numb, and advised again, how about changing to someone else, you will make a profit if it succeeds, and you will not lose if it fails. It is better than taking risks on your own. Chris. Yes. Wayne readily admitted that few people knew that he was stamped by the Moonlight Church. Philomena was able to get the information, so it must have been leaked by the senior sister. There was nothing to hide. What a senior sister, secretly sold him to an old aunt, what was she thinking? You are afraid that you can't eat the meat before you eat it? You are so willing to share. Do you want to make progress? Wait, I will teach you a lesson when I go back. Wayne's brain is full of Chris. Philomena, who was left aside, was extremely unhappy and said angrily, just because she is young, 10 years and a few months younger than me. Auntie, your fraction is long enough. The complaints were so big that Wayne almost suffocated. He nodded seriously. Yes, I like young people. From a mathematical point of view, Chris plus Chris is you. 2 to 1, is this question difficult to choose? It's absurd, how can you do the problem like this? Philomena was furious. Why didn't she think she was old when she touched her just now? She said viciously, don't be so sure. Sooner or later, I will make you obedient. It's too difficult. I still suggest letting K. Do you dare to make a bet? Wayne didn't say anything. He swore that gambling and drugs would never coexist. He always avoided betting. Unless it's a sure win. If I can't get your heart and make you obedient, I promise not to pester you anymore. Otherwise. Philomena gritted her teeth and said, you have to become a disciple of the Moonlight Goddess and be driven by me without complaint. I am already a disciple of the Moonlight Goddess. I just need to eat and drink enough. Wayne weighed the pros and cons and found that he had no loss on either side. He looked at Philomena with pity. High Priest, I've made the bet, but I'll bet on you. If you lose, you can't make trouble for no reason. I'm very mature and I'm no longer at the age of making trouble for no reason. That's hard to say. Wayne shook his head and insisted on adding additional terms to the bet. The two of them finalized it and finally reached a bet. Philomena was overjoyed and asked Wayne to come over quickly, take off her stockings and continue to apply night cream. High Priest. Mina. Okay, Mina. Wayne looked at Philomena, who looked shy, and felt awkward no matter how he looked at her. As I said, the mask was too fake. He complained, if I'm not mistaken, you haven't been deceived by a man yet. Let me remind you that sincerity can only be exchanged for sincerity. You can't tie a man down by showing off your beauty like this, and you can only get a man's irresponsible lust. He tapped his chest, implying that he had to be sincere. Philomena was thoughtful and said that she had learned something. She heard Wayne's question, since you understand, do you still need me to help you take off your stockings? No need. Philomena shook her head. According to the schedule, you will accompany me to the museum tomorrow afternoon. In the evening, change it to a movie date with me. Don't be late. Seeing that the other party really understood, Wayne secretly regretted that he should have taken off his socks first. Now it's good, the free benefit is gone. Fortunately, the problem is not big. I will go back to work overtime and bring the Cheongsam over tomorrow. November 8th. Windsor Museum. Image Ambassador Wayne acted as a tour guide under the order of the Ministry of Magic to take Philomena, the High Priest of the Moonlight Church, to visit the museum. There were also two twin magicians, Verna and Did. Looking at the configuration, these two are the personal bodyguards of the High Priest. It's a bit redundant. If something really happens, who knows who will be protected? Moreover, at this critical moment, no one dared to do anything to Philomena, especially the Ministry of Magic, which would only exacerbate the conflict if they went crazy. Philomena was extremely charming, and she would always wear a veil in public, but even if she only showed half of her face, she would still attract a lot of attention. She would break up a couple as soon as she saw them, and within an hour, she had broken up 7 or 8 couples. In terms of demeanor, the High Priest was self-respecting and well-mannered, noble and elegant, and serious, holding Wayne's arm as he walked through the exhibition hall. Facing the indignant eyes of his male compatriots, Wayne held his head high and did not explain, and he was not afraid of his shadow even if he was crooked, and no matter how many rumors there were, he could not be scared. Philomena was still thinking about how to be sincere, and she had no idea that this was also a trap. According to her plan, even if she failed, the result would be a loss of both money and life, but if she listened to Wayne, she would lose her heart. According to Wayne, although Philomena lost everything, she was actually the final winner. In a sincere love, the one who does not seek return is the final winner. Because they got what they wanted without any reward. Love without heart is terrible. It's just a transaction on the street. Turning around means goodbye. There are only memories left in silence. There is no winner. Thinking of this, Wayne immediately lost his guilt. Life needs to grow up. The youth of the high priest is not complete. There is still hope if he pays the tuition. Philomena took Wayne's arm and didn't pay attention to the dazzling exhibits. Her eyes would always be on Wayne involuntarily. It's strange to say that she always felt that Wayne was the same age. Even if the intelligence was clearly written, she still felt that Wayne was the same age as her. Because of preconceived notions, when they first met, Wayne performed perfectly in the forbidden magic field. He was capable, kind, and especially gentlemanly. He didn't look like a young boy at all. Philomena would not think so. She was not old, but very young, so she felt that she was the same age as Wayne. That's it. Philomena wore light makeup today. Every time she noticed Wayne looking at her out of the corner of her eye, she would smile slightly, waiting to see the guilty look on his face. Le.jpg. Because of Philomena's identity, some exhibition halls in the museum were sealed off and specially used to receive her. For example, the Current History Exhibition Hall. A series of silver white knight armors stood with swords. These armors are made of copper, iron, and other metals. Each piece is handmade. After years of baptism, it still maintains a considerable degree of integrity. A careful observation can reveal that these armors are all genuine, and the marks of swords and knives are still there. Although the patterns on the helmets and breastplates have been blurred, the outline of the tulip can still be detected. Wayne looked at it curiously and took 2 steps forward to take a closer look. On the opposite side, the knight armor slowly raised his head, and a pair of red lights suddenly opened. There is murderous intent. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 178. The visor opened with a red glow, and the knight's armor instantly came alive. The long sword in his hand swept across and headed straight for Wayne's neck. Rightward arrow. A roar sounded, and the surrounding knight armor all came alive at this moment. The sword wind was approaching, and the heat wave was blowing in his face. Only then did Wayne realize the extraordinariness of the knight's sword. This is a magic sword that can mobilize the fire element in the air. He raised his hand to block the knight's sword, his 5 fingers tightly grasped the blade, and his fingerprints pressed down the traces with one move. The knight did not die with his bare hands. He took the knight's sword for himself, and slashed it horizontally with his backhand, cutting the sneak-attacking knight's armor in half. Around, each piece of armor moved freely, holding the long sword to form an encirclement. Verna and did cast magic to resist the enemy. The two seemed to have a telepathic talent. 1 + 1 was far greater than 2. They cooperated left and right to block the knight's armor that was dozens of times larger than their own. Philomena still held Wayne's arm. Her eyes were cold. If you can't solve the problem, solve the person with the problem. Is this the Ministry of Magic's way of hospitality? Definitely not. I'm still here. How can I kill my own people? Humph. Mina, this is to sow discord. The Ministry of Magic can't do anything to you. Without benefits, it will only cause greater trouble. If it's not a traitor, it can only be other churches. Wayne knew that Philomena knew, so he recommended several possibilities, for example, the Moonlight Church's allies in the Life Alliance, such as Darkness and Death, and the Heavenly Father Church. Yes, it must be the Heavenly Father Church who did it. The heart of playing with the holy light is dirty, and it dreams of expanding its power in Windsor. Go on, I want to hear more nonsense, Philomena sneered. Wayne kept silent. People are not willing to risk their lives for a few $100 a month. He is a tour guide and has no salary. Just say a few words to show your intention. As for whitewashing the Ministry of Magic, it's okay. Although he hadn't seen the murderer yet, Wayne was 80% sure that it was an ambush by the Ministry of Magic. Unlike the Capitol Hotel, this time it was another group of forces. The traitor couldn't do it. It was too late to kill him now. Adding fuel to the fire would only make the situation worse. The minister was furious, and the original life sentence might really become a death sentence. Some people think that the queen is soft-hearted and wants the traitor to die without a burial place. Thinking of this, Wayne said again, "You are right. Dirty politics is everywhere. This ambush is to put pressure on the queen." He. Philomena just sneered. No matter who puts pressure on the Windsor royal family, they should not use the Moonlight Church as a stepping stone. While the two were talking, Verna and Deed cleaned up the armor around them and looked at Wayne with unfriendly eyebrows. "Why are you looking at me? I'm not a guide. The schedule is set by the Ministry of Magic." Wayne was furious and hugged Philomena. With the hostage in hand, he advised the two silly girls to restrain themselves. Philomena pushed Wayne's dirty hands away, raised her bare hands, and slashed in the air. Two full moon pistols and a crescent moon dagger fell from the black cracks and floated in front of the twins. The two took the swords and guns and were ready for battle. It doesn't matter who attacked now. What matters is that the surrounding magic fluctuations continue. The ambush is far from over, and the big one is still behind. Wayne looked at Philomena's portable space and envied it secretly. Using thoughts to open up the dark domain is the ability of the Golden Wizard. There are two types of dark domains, static and movable. The static dark domain can be regarded as a warehouse, which is usually hidden in the Golden Wizard's lair. Opening up space will consume a lot of thinking. After forming, the space is static and will not collapse or spread. Only the Golden Wizard, who is the owner, can erase it. Foreign legendary wizards can also do it. They can crush you as they want. It is not suitable for examples, so I won't expand on it. Let's just talk about the static dark domain. Once it is formed, it will not continue to consume the builder's thinking. The warehouse will still exist even if the person dies, so a large amount of gold coins are often exploded in the warehouse of the Golden Wizard. The movable dark domain is completely opposite. Compared with the thinking consumed by opening up space, the maintenance consumption is the biggest, and the cost effectiveness is not high. The Golden Wizard will only open up a small space to store his most precious items, such as weapons and equipment used in combat. Thinking is not affected by the forbidden magic domain. This is why Wayne did not explode Philomena's magic gun. Let's talk about the swords and guns in the hands of the twins. The appearance is similar to Philomena's combat equipment, and the grade is not so exaggerated. It should be the standard weapons produced by the Moonlight Church for armed combat troops. Wayne asked Chris that the magicians of the Moonlight Church rarely use firearms, let alone magic firearms. Philomena is from the headquarters of the Moonlight Church. Based on this, it can be inferred that the guns and swords are only equipped with the combat personnel of the headquarters and have not yet been put into service on a large scale. "I asked you to speak, why don't you speak?" Philomena took Wayne's arm with a cold tone. Without the fake mask, the beauty was cold and charming, and Wayne immediately found his first love. Philomena said expressionlessly, "I will report this to the church headquarters and the Ministry of Magic. Make up an excuse as soon as possible and wait for compensation. It should be." Wayne's eyes lit up, and he whispered to Philomena, "There are no outsiders here. We can exaggerate the story. The situation should be as serious as possible. Let the Ministry of Magic pay more. I will help you collude with the confession. You will make money, and I will not lose." Philomena's face froze. "Tell the truth, are you really Mr. Jack who saved me that night?" "I took the box away that night." "That's right." Philomena readily discussed the confession with Wayne, and they had a disagreement on whether to destroy the museum. Philomena insisted on demolishing the building. The bigger the scene, the more tragic the ambush, and the more compensation she demanded. Wayne disagreed. He said he could not be a human being, but he had to maintain at least a human appearance. Otherwise, he would be black-hearted and dare to make any money in the future, and there would be no hope. It made sense. Philomena did not want such a moonlight disciple and agreed with Wayne. The second wave of knights came, and not only the armor, but also other items in the history exhibition hall came alive. The most outrageous thing was a team of clay statue soldiers, pushing black old-fashioned cannons to the battlefield. The twins were under great pressure, and they combined their guns and swords to move left and right to protect the high priest and the dog man from harm. The fight was in full swing on the side, and Wayne and Philomena started arguing again. Why is it only 30%? Wayne was very dissatisfied. He came up with the idea and the confession he made. 30% depends on Philomena's face. Isn't he kneeling to beg for food? Philomena didn't even lie down, why should he kneel? No, add another 20%, otherwise I won't cooperate and you won't get anything. Wayne insisted that 50% was already a friendly price and couldn't be any less. Forget it if you can't get anything, I don't care anyway, Philomena said lightly. Wayne glared at her, and seeing that the latter refused to give in, he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, Aunt Mina, I only want 30%, and the 20% is a respect for the elderly." Philomena glared back at him. She was not old, but not that young. Compared with a 20-year-old girl, she was born a few months earlier. There was no need for outsiders to instigate, and they were about to fight because of the uneven distribution of the spoils. Moreover, the spoils haven't been obtained yet. Boom! With a cannon shot, a wall of the exhibition hall collapsed, and glass and broken stones were everywhere. The armor of the knight riding the sculptured warhorse was broken into pieces, and several nearby uniformed soldiers were smashed by solid shells, and the charred stone limbs were scattered, and a puff of grey smoke rose. After the second wave of offensive, the surrounding magic fluctuations intensified, the magic array was combined, and the array diagram was projected, covering the entire floor of the historical exhibition hall. Space barrier, this trick again. Philomena disdainfully said, "Wayne, your Ministry of Magic can only attack from behind, don't you have any new tricks? Don't shoot randomly, I'm a friendly army." Wayne thought that he was not the same as the Ministry of Magic, because the Landau family was named after him. As the two talked, Wayne tensed his muscles, and Philomena let go of his arm and took out her own weapons from the dark realm. Full moon pistol, and a temporary replacement single-edged sword. The single-edged sword of the crescent moon taken away by Wayne was her exclusive weapon tailor-made for her. It was extremely expensive, and she could not make a second one in a short time, so she temporarily found a single-edged sword to make up the number. She looked at Wayne and asked the latter to be smart and take the initiative to trade. Wayne just pretended not to see it. The trade was okay, but whoever spoke first would suffer. It was the trophy he exchanged for his life, and it could not be sold at a low price easily. Roar, roar, roar. The magic circle opened the space portal, and familiar dragon blood transformations fell one by one. There were no guns or hot weapons, but only full of passion. It's not a portal. The Ministry of Magic has already ambushed it. Philomena saw through the magic circle diagram, throw away that schedule, and I can go wherever I want in the future. There is not much to see about the dragon blood soldiers without the forbidden magic field and hot weapons. Wayne and Philomena don't need to do it, the twin magicians can handle everything. The magic gun in his hand fired at high speed, and the magic bullet attached with flames had amazing lethality. In just a moment, a team of dragon blood transformations was slaughtered. Wayne frowned. It was too easy. The childish attack couldn't hurt Philomena at all. The intention of framing was obvious. The Ministry of Magic could completely blame other churches. Can you pay more attention? At least there is a forbidden magic field. Buzz buzz buzz. A hammer was struck, and the grey ripples swept across the field. The magic array disappeared, and the 4 elements floating in the air also disappeared without a trace. Forbidden magic field. Philomena sighed, and experienced the forbidden magic field again. She couldn't help but think of the heavy losses last time, and hated the ministry of magic in her heart. Seeing that the high priest had no expression and was not panicked at all, Wayne guessed that she had a way to deal with it. He did not take the initiative immediately, and chose to wait and see. Boom! The wall in front was broken, and the 4 dragon blood transformation bodies turned into crocodile men, rushing over with their teeth and claws. The twin magicians protected Philomena behind them, and under Wayne's surprised gaze, they fought 2 dragon blood transformation bodies alone without losing the upper hand. This is outrageous. According to Wayne's observation, the twins have strength, but their life essence is limited, and they should not show such exaggerated close combat ability. Unless they are not human. Wayne asked curiously, but Philomena did not respond, only saying, "The Ministry of Magic has not set up a mirror space projection barrier, we can leave at any time. Let's wait and see, I'm curious about what the other side is planning." The other party avoided the question. Wayne stopped asking, and looked at the twins curiously. If the other party is also a magical life similar to the dragon blood transformation body, the Moonlight Church must have gone further in the field of biological research and development than the Ministry of Magic. The twins can use magic, have magic power and thinking, usually look at him coldly, and they are not lacking in independent thinking and personality. Change the hypothesis, they are human first, and then transformed by the dragon blood analog. This makes sense. Wayne watched helplessly as the twins tore the dragon blood modified body into pieces. The latter had obvious weaknesses. Flesh could regenerate, but bones could not. The bones that were extracted from the body became invertebrate soft-bodied creatures, which were active but did not pose a threat. The 3rd wave of offensive ended, and the 4th wave followed. On the ceiling, cracks spread out, and white flesh foam dripped down like a tide. Its infectivity and activity far exceeded the flesh and blood of the dragon blood modified body. Sensing the fresh life, it squirmed and rushed towards the 4 people. The flesh and blood of the starry sky beast. Philomena looked ugly, she had suffered a lot and was cheated, so she raised her hand and hugged Wayne's arm. "It's okay, I won't leave." Wayne comforted him with kind words, and in exchange for a roll of his eyes, Philomena said, "This attack is not against me, but against you. I am just a cover. Some people want to know how you rejected the pollution of the starry sky." After hearing what she said, Wayne narrowed his eyes and was immediately disgusted when he thought of Austin's explanation. He is indeed a piece of trash from the Ministry of Magic. He is so superior to others that he is a piece of trash in society. Together with this group of insects, how can we build a better future in Windsor? Philomena tightened Wayne's arm. "Don't move. The 2 of them will take care of everything. The same method will not work on me." Wayne chuckled and couldn't help but be curious. "Don't you want to see how I saved you?" "Don't worry, I will know when I get you." Philomena glanced at Wayne, with a slanted eyebrow and a cold look, and the royal sister's aura suddenly became full. The secret must be revealed in the end to be worth looking forward to, isn't it? Wayne swallowed secretly. No, it was a thrilling feeling. Is he going to lose this one? Although Philomena has not yet figured out what it means to be distracted, she gradually finds a way to control Wayne and returns the property to its original owner, feeling that she is sure. In the field, the twins showed themselves to be inhuman, swimming around at high speed, plundering the flesh and blood of the starry sky beast, assimilating the white flesh foam through physical contact, and sucking up the white tide like sponges. Wayne became more energetic and looked at the twins with burning eyes. He was curious about their internal structure and wanted to take them apart to study them. Wayne is very self-aware, and he has never refused the pollution of the starry sky beast. The latter is not of a high enough level and is not worthy of polluting his life essence. Strictly speaking, he just rejected low-level evolution. To exaggerate a little more, he in turn polluted the flesh and blood of the starry sky beast. What about the twins? What's going on with them? Wayne swallowed hard, his arm hurt, and he heard Philomena's dissatisfied voice, "Don't look at other women on a date. This is the most basic respect for your partner. It's so ambiguous, and those who didn't know better thought we were in a relationship." Wayne withdrew his gaze angrily, waiting for the fifth wave of offensive. But no, the starry sky beast was the last hurdle. It could also be that the attacker stopped the loss in time and made no other moves after that. The twins returned to the high priest, and Wayne looked at the two of them. Where were the flesh and blood of so many starry beasts? There was another pain in his arm. Wayne didn't care and said with a smile, "Verna, Deed, thank you for your hard work. I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Wayne, a native of Lundam. Look at your damn face." Philomena dragged Wayne away with a dark face. After leaving the forbidden magic realm, she looked at her watch. "It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll give you 2 hours to contact the Ministry of Magic. I'll see you at 6 o'clock, candlelight dinner and movie in the evening, no lateness allowed. Don't worry, the Ministry of Magic will definitely give you an explanation." Wayne was about to leave when Philomena grabbed his arm, who raised her hand and placed it in front of him. Life needs a sense of ritual. Wayne secretly thought it was troublesome, and the gentleman bent down, took the cattails in his arms and kissed his fingertips. When the camera turned, Wayne had contacted Austin and explained the cause and effect on the phone. "This is the situation. The high priest is going crazy, and I am going crazy too. Let the Ministry of Magic change someone else." "Did the building collapse?" Austin asked directly about the core, his own people. It didn't need to say whether he had some or not, just how many he wanted. "Ah, this. You should have brought the building down," Austin lamented. "It's not good, so many valuable antiques. Next time, remember to make the scene bigger. You are not Veronica. Don't ask me to teach you this. I will contact the Ministry of Magic and give you 50% of the comfort Austin exported social garbage. Study. Then you might as well grab it, just 30%, no more. Make a deal. Damn it, I should say 10%. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 179. Wayne spoke quickly and quickly ended the call with Austin. He believed in the minds of social trash and sorted out the process, and the latter would be able to figure out the cause and effect. Then there is the fight for benefits. A better tomorrow for everyone except the Queen's minister. With so many young men and women, is this country really okay? Wayne muttered that through 2 ambushes against the Moonlight Church, he saw through the nature of the Ministry of Magic. Free mages had no loyalty at all and were full of internal conflicts. Everyone was fighting for their own interests. Personal interests outweigh national interests, and if the price is right, they can put the Queen on the shelf. After seeing through the general trend of the country in Windsor, Wayne was devastated. He expected that he could not change anything by himself, so he decisively joined in, taking the dross and removing the essence, leaving the silt and dyeing it all. Start from the rubbish of society, work steadily, work towards the rubbish of the Ministry of Magic, and strive to become Alston as soon as possible. He wants to progress so much. 6 o'clock in the evening. High-end restaurants, candlelight dinners, French cuisine. French cuisine is known as the most elegant cuisine in the continent. It has rich cultural characteristics and romantic style. It has an unshakable position in the Windsor food world. Because of his eating habits and personal taste, Wayne's gentleman is superficial and rough at heart. He does not taste romance and only sees expensive and complicated table manners. Philomena is just the opposite. She savors romance carefully, and the man opposite her becomes more and more charming the more she savors it. A little girl cares about a man's maturity and stability, and requires a partner to be responsible. Philomena is not a little girl, and subconsciously tends to be a man who is 60% mature at 40% naive. She can't be too old. Being too mature will have no fun or passion. Being mediocre will only make her older. She shouldn't be too young or childish, as making noise will only make her irritable. Wayne is just right, mature, and reliable, yet ridiculously naive, and he always makes a ripple in her mood inadvertently. That is the vitality of youth. It's shameful to say that Philomena felt that Wayne's most dazzling moment was on that sofa, forcibly applying night cream on her and pressing her down to change stockings. She had to admit that her heartbeat really accelerated at that moment. These words cannot be said clearly as they sound like a pervert and undermine the majesty of the high priest. High priest, the ministry of magic is already preparing compensation. I will give you an explanation tomorrow afternoon at the latest. My 30%. Don't talk about work while eating. Philomena glanced at the roses in the glass vase. Her appearance and temperament should be praised on such occasions. Talking about money would ruin the atmosphere. Wayne followed his gaze and saw that the glass vase was covered with roses. His expression was solemn, thinking about the deep meaning. What do you mean, let him die for his country tonight? Auntie, are you a little too hasty? Wayne suspected that he was overthinking, and that the other person probably didn't mean this. He clenched his fist and coughed lightly. Mina, I haven't seen you for 2 hours, and you have become young and beautiful again. It's too perfunctory, use some snacks. The necklace is so white. This one is blue. Philomena lowered her head and went home to change into an evening dress for the candlelight dinner. The neckline was neither high nor low. She had a lot of money and was indeed quite white. She spat softly, holding up the red wine to hide her slightly red cheeks. The movie in the evening was still a private one. It was an old love story, with Wayne standing in the perspective of future generations, and the twists and turns of the plot were nothing new. The only thing worthy of praise is that the hero and heroine come together, there is no iceberg or sinking ship. Philomena was filled with joy when she saw it. She had a small notebook in which she recorded the regrets that she wanted to do but didn't do before she was 30. She crossed out several things in the past 2 days and felt that her life was a lot more complete. Back at the manor, Wayne was able to enter the palace, but instead drank black tea in the high priest's bedroom. Listening to music and drinking tea, the dressing table in front of me is filled with bottles and cans. He picked them up and looked at them one by one, shaking his head as he looked. Philomena walked out of the bathroom in a bathrobe and said, "You know women so well, is there anything wrong with my cosmetics?" "There's nothing wrong with the cosmetics, you're the one with the problem." Wayne divided the cosmetics into categories, pointing to beauty products such as skincare and moisturizing, and said, "These are enough. You are a golden mage. Your life essence is powerful. The wind element is enough to keep you young forever. Throw away the other cosmetics. Very expensive." Philomena said reluctantly that it had just been opened and had not been used a few times, so it would be a pity to throw it away. "It sounds like you are short of money." Wayne wanted to throw these cosmetics into the trash can, so he picked up a bottle and was about to throw it away. Seeing that Philomena didn't stop him, he threw one bottle and picked up another one. After a few times, he swept the table clean with a wave of his hand, leaving only some skincare products. Desktop cleanup master.jpg. Philomena had a pained face and sat in front of the makeup mirror angrily, pointing at the night cream to let her boss know more about it. Wayne never refuses such excessive demands. He applies night cream on his fingertips and brushes it against the white neck of the swan. As the applied area spreads, his hands have already reached into the collar of his bathrobe. Philomena clapped her hand on her chest and warned Wayne not to forget the bet. Some things and some people have to pay for what they get. Impossible, not taking the initiative or refusing equals irresponsibility, the formula will not deceive people. Having said that, Wayne still avoided the high ridge, pulled up a chair and sat down, raising one long leg to wipe off the night cream. Seeing how well behaved he was, Philomena felt a little regretful. When she saw the suitcase placed beside the bed, her eyes lit up. The new model you designed. It's not about design, it's exotic, I borrowed it a bit. What country? It's not on the map. Isn't that what you designed? After wiping off the night cream, Philomena opened her suitcase, picked up the cheongsam and looked at it. It was indeed exotic, at least she had never seen anything similar in style. It's just that the splay is a bit high, almost reaching the waist. Are you sure this dress will sell? Don't question the aesthetics of professionals. This dress shows off a woman's figure and temperament. It is elegant and luxurious with gemstones. It is a very high-end design, Wayne said truthfully. Philomena nodded, turned her back to Wayne and untied her bathrobe, looked back with a smile, and put the cheongsam on. The body language is elegant, that is, the movements are very slow, and the whole process is beneficial. It's too slow. Let me help you. Wayne rubbed his hands and stepped forward, willing to help others regardless of whether the other party agreed or not, and fastened the buttons on Philomena's collar while she struggled. The high priest didn't have much knowledge, but she had no self-awareness. She was a typical dishonest and fun-loving person. Before Wayne did anything, she was a little confused and obsessed. Just making a bet, I really don't know where she got the confidence. Wayne had reason to suspect that he had been fooled. The best hunters often appeared in the form of prey. Philomena knew that she did not have the strength, so she gave him the initiative and waited for the good man to take responsibility afterwards. An honest person deserves to take over, right? Wayne looked at the beautiful woman in his arms and his Adam's apple twitched. It was a good deal, but it wasn't that he couldn't take it. Philomena hugged Wayne's neck, extremely proud of her charm, and secretly said, "Looking at your expression, I won the bet." With the warm and fragrant nephrite in his arms, Wayne couldn't help but feel distracted, but when it came to winning or losing, he immediately woke up, pushed Philomena away, and lay stretched out on the bed. He will strike in the form of prey. The atmosphere disappeared in an instant. Philomena stood by the bed with a black line on her face. She raised her hand to brush the long hair around her ears, crossed her arms and sneered to herself. If you have the ability to continue, I want to see how long you can persist. X2. At 10:30 in the evening, Wayne left the manor with his suitcase. There was a cheongsam in the suitcase. I told you that it was not yet on the market and could not be given to Philomena. I kept my word and took it off with my own hands. While driving, the cold breath of death surrounds me, and my reason comes online to get rid of all kinds of negative effects. Especially the little head Balabala's advice, about self-sacrifice, spirit of sacrifice, and fighting for brothers, is very touching at first glance, but when you think about it carefully, it is all selfishness and only cares about your own happiness. It's okay if you don't want this little head. Wayne's sanity was online, and the blocking was not enough, so he directly arranged a ban. If he hadn't been nostalgic, considering how many years the brothers have been together, they would have parted ways tonight. Philomena smells very good and is crazy enough. It really tastes sweet to her. She dares to report the matter to the Ministry of Magic tomorrow, and Wayne will be arranged to receive the certificate the day after tomorrow. A selfish woman like this who doesn't know how to share is better left alone. Wayne didn't panic at all. It was so easy to hang him on a tree. His negative emotions were cleared every night and reset every 24 hours. There was no way he could lose. Philomena, on the other hand, must be very hard after accumulating so much pressure. It's not clear who the prey is. Jajaja. Landau Manor. Wayne drove to a stop and saw Austin wrapped in bandages in the study. I want to complain, but I don't know where to start. The minister is already aware of today's events and has grounded all senior officials of the Ministry of Magic. Austin played with the ancient silver coins, and Megan set up a soundproof barrier. He was not worried about the leakage of the processing results, and made it clear, several legendary wizards are at the headquarters of the Ministry of Magic. Before the traitor is found, the minister's signature is required to approve the entry and exit of the Ministry of Magic. The minister must be very disappointed, right? More than a disappointment. Austin shook his head and smiled, because I am not a legendary mage, and because you have saved people before, I was not grounded and received the task of investigating the traitor. With power in hand, he can make a lot of money, and his life has reached a new peak, and Wayne is much more pleasing to the eye. He shrugged his nose and was very dissatisfied. The smell of perfume on your body is too strong. I know what the high priest wants to do, and I also know what you want to do. There are some advantages that you can't just take advantage of. Stay away from her, don't get stuck in. Indeed, I almost fell into it tonight. Wayne nodded and said, don't worry, I understand the truth, and I can always do it if I don't want to be a womanizer. Austin. As for your compensation, the minister said that after the traitor is found, you will be awarded a medal to reward your contribution to the country. Nothing practical. Wayne doesn't want the medal, it's just a decoration, it has no value in itself. He wants the 4 elements, the more the better. Preferably ancient silver coins. If that doesn't work, the Queen can consider it. This is an honor, which represents the recognition of the minister. When honors are accumulated to a certain level, it is status. With status, you can pay yourself a salary. Austin was very attentive in cultivating Wayne, teaching social garbage science step by step, and he did not hesitate to make a fool of himself for this. For example, if I become the leader of the investigation team, I am higher than all the legendary mages in terms of status, and I can ask them for anything openly. The advantage is that you can also make a big fuss about your investigation report. The Moonlight Church bullied you, and the High Priest insulted you. You have paid a lot for the country without a single complaint. You are loyal to the Queen and the country. You deserve respect and more and better rewards. As he spoke, Austin pointed out 3 fingers. 30%, he will not treat himself badly. The investigative reports would be sensational, and the more Wayne made, the more he made. This is also a teaching session, and 30% is not tuition, but a price that must be paid, which is called investment in business. Wayne expressed that he had learned a lesson and asked about the purpose of coming tonight. Which legendary mage is targeting me? If you mess around like this, it will only expose the fact that the Ministry of Magic is at odds, and you will eventually lose your own interests. What are you thinking about? Wayne couldn't understand, he just thought the Ministry of Magic was stupid. They are legendary mages. At this stage, the interests of the country are no longer tied to themselves. They have to find a way out for themselves. Austin spoke slowly. The only disadvantage of free mages is that they can't find a way to rise. Unlike magicians who come from the church, their future path is clear. Even if there are overt and covered fights, they are limited to within the church. What do you mean? There have been traitors in the Ministry of Magic before. There have been a few times, and they've all been covered up. Austin's tone is very playful. Rather than covering up, it is more about peer competition, stabbing his good brother/friend before they rebel, and maximizing his own interests. This attack on Moonlight Church was no exception. The script had been written a long time ago. The difference was that enthusiastic people who had not passed by before tore open the fig leaf and let the truth be revealed to the world. When betrayal becomes a matter of course, The person who pointed out the betrayal becomes very annoying. Wayne lamented, "It's so hard to be a good person. It's really not easy for me." Austin felt uncomfortable hearing this. He waved his hand and told Wayne to get out and go somewhere else to express his feelings. He still wanted to have a good sleep at night. "Then I won't disturb your rest." Wayne left the study. Seeing that he didn't borrow gauze, Austin knew that he wouldn't go to Zyabike's to make a miserable sale, so he didn't remind him to pay attention to the smell of perfume on his body. "What chases you to the end of the world, persists until death, and won't let go until death." The words were full of sincerity, which made Wayne feel embarrassed at the time. He didn't even know that Veronica was so proactive. In comparison, Chris is too inactive. Wayne House. Chrissy heard footsteps in the corridor, opened the door and poked her head in, waving to Wayne and asking him to hurry into the room to talk. Very anxious. Wayne complained that Chris was not active, but saw that she was impatient and thought he had gone to the wrong door. He looked around. It was Wayne House, yes, and it wasn't Philomena across the way. One wave after another. What happened? "Wayne, come here quickly," Chrissy called softly. "Don't be so quiet, Willie isn't here tonight," Wayne said carelessly. Chris blushed, grabbed Wayne and dragged him into the bedroom. Willie was indeed not there, but there was a housekeeper and a maid at home, so she would definitely get the wrong idea. What on earth is going on in such a hurry? Wayne put down his suitcase and asked puzzledly, "Senior teacher, didn't you ask for leave? Why did you come here to stay overnight again today? This is not important. What is important is that you are in big trouble now." Chris said with a straight face, "Tell me about your itinerary today. Don't leave anything out. Tell it all." Mysterious. Wayne didn't know why, so he said truthfully, "I acted as a tour guide today and accompanied your high priest to visit the museum. After dinner, I went to Landau Manor. I was so busy that the last stop was your bedroom. It's all true, just ignore some of the plot." "Have you gone to see Veronica?" Chris' voice rose and almost broke. Wayne picked his ears. "Is there something wrong?" "No, it can't be done." Chris grabbed Wayne's hand and hesitated to speak. She didn't dare to reveal the truth, so she could only say, "Veronica is not suitable for you, but Willie is very good. Believe me, you can't go there together." A series of question marks floated across Wayne's forehead. As far as he understood, this was not Chris's character. "Anyway, you can't be together." Chris took the dignity of her two friends into consideration, and hoped that Wayne would realize it himself, and then said, "There is also the high priest, she has no good intentions, please stay away from her." "She really has no good intentions." Wayne nodded with a serious face, opened his collar, and waved his hand to stir up the wind. "Do you smell it? It's all her perfume. She sprayed it on me with the perfume bottle, and even touched my hand while eating. You won't resist." Boss Chris was not happy, and she despised it in her heart. As expected of the high priest, she played so innocently, without any astringency at all. "You can't hook up with Wayne like this. Keep it up." "I would like to resist, but the Ministry of Magic has a mission, so I can only endure it for now." Wayne sighed. Life is not only about poetry and distant places, but also about the immediate situation. He has no skills and his brain is not fast enough. In order to make money to support his family, he can only sell his body. Speaking of this, where did the high priest get the information from? Wayne pressed on step by step, directly blocking Chris in the corner, raised his hand and pressed down the wall. "Look up, tell me, there is a traitor among us. Who is that person?" Restarting the Myth. Author, Feng Chao Huang. Chapter 180. Chris retreated again and again, knowing that she was in the wrong, and could not answer evasively. She was the traitor. When Wayne pushed her into a corner, she realized that something was wrong. They were too close, and she could even feel the other person's breathing. Chris raised her hand and pushed Wayne's chest, wanting to say something, but then she thought of the bad relationship between the brother and sister, fearing that they would make an irreparable mistake, and decided to sacrifice herself. The idea was good, but the king of strong mouths always dared to think but not to do. She raised her hand and put it on Wayne's chest, and then froze. The female college student, no, the female graduate student blushed, looked to the side, and her eyelashes trembled, which was very cute. The highest level of temptation is purity. Like Mona, the combat nun in a white uniform, and like Chris at this time, the latter was not Philomena, and there was no bet on her. Wayne couldn't help but lower his head and bid her face. Chris moaned softly and tightly grasped Wayne's clothes, which made the latter very puzzled. As I said, the senior sister's personality is not right today. Did Philomena assign her a task? Wayne was speechless. He thought that the Heavenly Father Church was outrageous, but he didn't expect that the Moonlight Church was even more outrageous. He raised his hand to hold Chris in his arms, lowered his head and whispered in his ear, "Don't be afraid, I'm here, no one will hurt you." Yeah. Chris lay in Wayne's arms, her body was warm, her head was dizzy, and she wanted to sleep. Wayne patted her shoulders with pity, "Don't pay attention to that woman, her personality is too extreme, just listen to what she says, believing everything will only hurt you." Chris had no idea what Wayne was talking about. She was too comfortable and too lazy to think. She nodded and agreed in a daze. 5 minutes later, she fell asleep standing in Wayne's arms. Wayne held her in his arms, looked at the moon outside the window, and was very dissatisfied with Philomena. "Look at what you did, you scared Chris." Wayne did not deny that he had taken advantage of the bet, but it was limited to Philomena, and the twins would be fine, the more the better. Chris didn't need to do that. The senior sister was gentle and well-behaved and didn't know how to refuse. She only shared happiness and never expressed negative emotions to others. She was a standard honest person. Wayne himself couldn't bear to bully her, let alone watch her being bullied by others. "You like to play like this, right? You wait, I'll let you know the methods of the scumbag." Wayne narrowed his eyes slightly. He thought that the high priest had zero experience and was a good woman. Now it seems that the crazy woman is very scheming and will do anything to achieve her goals. She is clearly a bad woman. Bad women only deserve bad men. I wanted to get along with you as a good man, but I didn't expect that you would become worse. I won't pretend anymore. I'm a scumbag. I'm going to show my cards." Wayne put Chris on the bed, covered her with a quilt, and left quietly. He went back to the room to rush to work on the second piece of clothing. A very modern set of black underwear. With his ability, he couldn't make it in a short time. He asked Valkyrie for help and got the finished product with his mind. The female knight was very old-fashioned and suspected that the night student was molesting her late at night. Wayne explained for a long time, but the effect was average. Underwear doesn't lie, and the label of bad student was confirmed. Well, there is one more reason to retaliate against Philomena. At noon the next day, Wayne rushed to the manor and accompanied Philomena as a tour guide to visit the scenic spots and historical sites of London. Candlelight dinner, shopping in the commercial street, whatever couples do on a date, they do. Wayne turned into a warm man and took care of Philomena meticulously. The latter had no experience in love. She had read many publications praising love and thought she was very capable. She was played around by KFC and really thought she won the bet with her charm. When it came to the night cream, Wayne turned into a gentleman again, politely and elegantly refusing the benefits. If you ask, it means that distance creates beauty, and if you ask again, it means that you are sincere, and you desire pure love without any impurities. Wayne, I like your inner beauty and want to communicate with your soul. It has nothing to do with whether you are beautiful or not. Philomena had never experienced such a UFO. When Wayne kissed her fingertips and left, her heart was drunk. She tossed and turned in bed that night and couldn't fall asleep. The high priest was honest. Seeing that Wayne was sincere, she was ready to get serious. In the following week, the two traveled all over London. Philomena was obsessed with the love that was going both ways. If the twins hadn't helped her to step on the brakes, she would have forgotten that she was the high priest of the Moonlight Church and came to London with a mission. Philomena, it doesn't matter. This bet is for the church. On November 17, the time went by and Austin's investigation team made a breakthrough. I don't know whether he received benefits or deliberately suppressed his political enemies. According to the clues at hand, the traitor pointed directly to the Wilson family among the 14 tulip families. The 14 tulip families are involved in different fields, but for the core values of the family, they have never given up the exploration of magic. This is the case with the Landau family, the Boswell family, and the Wilson family. The Wilson family is engaged in the political field and has a wide network of contacts. Although there are no legendary wizards among the current family members, there is one gold and several silver. There are many six-pointed stars or magic apprentices sponsored by them, which is also a force in the Ministry of Magic. At least on paper, their strength is much higher than that of the Landau family. According to Austin's investigation team, the dragon blood modified bodies and magic props for setting up barriers lost by the Ministry of Magic have not been completely settled. Following the clues, they dug out traces of the Wilson family's manipulation. After Austin reported it to the Queen, he continued the investigation along the clues. According to previous experience, the Wilson family was not the mastermind, but the legendary mage hidden behind the scenes was the real traitor. Austin told Wayne the news, and Wayne also conveyed the news to Philomena in a vague way. The Ministry of Magic has been investigating and hoped that she would wait. In fact, without this important information, Wayne had already blocked Philomena's mouth. Use love to fill your mouth. On this day, the two took a sightseeing cruise and crossed the ferry along the River Tame. At the Ministry of Magic headquarters, several legendary mages somehow got together and started a dispute over who was the traitor. Knocked down or not beaten, they are all smart people and will not act recklessly at this juncture. But soon, they discovered something was wrong. In the air, more and more four elements were gathered by the golden meditation array. At first, it did not arouse the alert of the Ministry of Magic. It was not until the concentration exceeded the standard that the grounded legendary mages realized that something was wrong. Quantitative changes lead to qualitative changes, the space where the Ministry of Magic is located solidifies, and a square space barrier is formed, and everyone is locked inside. What the spatial barrier is, the Golden Mage doesn't understand, but the legendary mage knows it. This is the only way for every legendary mage to break through. It is the power of the legendary demigod. This space barrier is also called the life domain. Several legendary mages gathered together to look at each other without saying anything. Obi, is that you? If it were me, would I lock myself in a cage? Bon. You don't have the ability to know. Celeste, is that you? Don't talk nonsense, I am loyal to the Ministry of Magic. After talking for a while, everyone discovered that Plank was not there. Just when they were furious, Gangplank pushed the door open and walked in. He said with a solemn expression, "Don't make random guesses. This is not the power of a demigod, but a false god. Someone moved the forgotten prison here." XN. Everyone was shocked, and Orb said in disbelief, "Don't say stupid things. The forgotten prison is not in this world. You can't talk nonsense just because you are the director of a lunatic asylum. It is precisely because I am the director of the lunatic asylum that I dare to talk nonsense." Plank is confident. When it comes to research on the forgotten, he is a professional. I have explored the surrounding space barriers, and there is no pollution to my thinking. It cannot be the life domain of demigods. Someone in the field stole the four elements and used some method to project the forgotten prison. We are locked up here. Gangplank looked around at the legendary mages, knowing that it was impossible, but still wanted to see something from their expressions, and then said, I don't know what that one wants to do, but as the gatekeeper of the forgotten prison in Windsor, man, this prison can't hold me. It's too late to give up now. Stop talking nonsense and take us away. Orb spoke decisively, gritted his teeth and said to his colleagues, when I leave here, I will definitely make him pay the price. Look at what I'm doing. Do you think I'm a traitor? I told you that my strength does not allow it. I am loyal to the Queen. Seeing that there was going to be another quarrel in the room, Gangplank touched his sleeves and secretly said something bad. His ancient silver coins were in Wayne's hands. He was missing a key item and couldn't find the key to open the door. Orb, lend me your ancient silver coins. Don't you have one? Orb frowned and looked at Gangplank intently. You old madman, where are your ancient silver coins? Why don't you take them with you? After hearing what Orb said, several other legendary mages looked strange and silently dispersed to form a semi-encirclement. Is it possible that Gangplank knows the forgotten prison best and is the most qualified and capable to project it to the Ministry of Magic? The so-called Great Prison of the Forgotten, also known as the Forbidden Zone of Bones and the Land of the Forgotten, is a place of exile dedicated to incarcerating madmen who cannot be saved. At the same time, the Great Prison of the Forgotten is also a refuge. Although madmen are terrifying, there are also many sane people who have escaped from madness. Just because a person is mad does not mean that he cannot be saved. In this case, the Forgotten Prison is a good choice. Lock him up first, maybe keep him locked up, and hey, he will heal on his own. The latest madman in Windsor is the Lord of the Void, the legendary mage marshal of the Church of Nature. The old guy is unwilling to step into the kingdom of nature, and is obsessed with the knowledge of the void and falls into madness. Just when everyone thought he was hopeless, he woke up, took the initiative to come to God's choice continent, and performed a very purposeful sacrifice. Because the faster you go crazy, the faster you die. No one knows what Marshall went through. But one thing is undeniable. If Marshall hadn't run so fast and been imprisoned in the Forgotten Prison, he would have been unable to escape from the prison for the rest of his life. Several legendary mages are preparing to capture Gangplank and torture him on how to leave. Gangplank was sweating profusely, waving his hands repeatedly and saying that he was wronged. You know me, I am crazy and careless all day long, and it is very reasonable to forget to bring the ancient silver coins with me. Believe me, although I am crazy, I am not stupid. I really have some ideas. I will never lock myself here. Makes sense, but who knows if you did it on purpose? Orb looked at him coldly. Glank, tell me, you are the one who made the deal with the devil, right? You fart. Plank shook his head and refused to admit anything. Yvette, who had been silent, slowly spoke. Yes or no, it's not important to say these now. If it is really related to the devil, London will usher in a hell sacrifice, so leave here quickly. The legendary wizards no longer hesitated, narrowed the encirclement and made Plank give up resistance. The ladder was very single and lay directly on the ground. What should we do? Seal him and let him lead the way. St. Paul's Cathedral at the same time. The cross hanging on the dome bloomed with a faint halo. Archbishop Gunther noticed the abnormality at the first time. He suppressed his surprise and counted with his fingers. Nothing was calculated. As a golden wizard, this was obviously beyond his ability. Considering that the cross would not warn without reason, he hurriedly opened the Golden Rule Bible to contact the angel to descend. Not only the angel descended to the Holy Spirit body, but also the reincarnated angel Wayne. The contracted angel received Gunther's call and descended into Renata's body. The angel's perception ability far exceeded Gunther. Soon, according to the guidance of the cross, he noticed the abnormality of the Ministry of Magic headquarters. "Gunther, what, the Ministry of Magic? That's fine. It's best if it's blown up. The Pope likes this." "Are you kidding me?" The girl Renata said in a mature manner, "The cross will give an alarm only when it senses the devil. It's a big deal. This is not only a disaster for Windsor, but also for the Holy See." Gunther's face was grim. "I know, but what you don't know is that because the devil was driven away last time, the royal family put pressure on the cathedral again." Renata was silent for a while and said, "Drive the devil away first, and talk about the rest later. The angels only have the devil in their eyes, and they don't care about the interests of the Holy See in the chosen continent. This is probably why the Pope loves and hates the angels." Gunther had to agree, and he and Renata went ahead and headed straight to the Ministry of Magic headquarters. On the other side, Atli contacted Mona by phone, mentioning keywords such as the Ministry of Magic and the devil. The devil came with great momentum, and the big scene alarmed the cross, asking her to inform Wayne as quickly as possible. Wayne was picking up girls on the river, using all his life's knowledge to trick Philomena into almost forgetting her last name. Suddenly, he received Mona's telepathic voice transmission, and stood up abruptly and looked towards the direction of the Ministry of Magic. Philomena was listening to sweet words, and she felt empty around her and almost fell down. She stood up and took Wayne's arm. "What's wrong? You look bad. It smells like a conspiracy." He glanced at Philomena. "Can you feel it? The headquarters of the Ministry of Magic has been sealed. What does the life and death of the Ministry of Magic have to do with the Moonlight Church? A bunch of rotten people. It would be best if they all died." Philomena looked into the distance in a daze, shook her head and said, "Too far, I can't sense anything." Speaking of this, she looked at her boyfriend curiously. "How did you know? You are not even a golden wizard." Philomena thought the time was ripe, and they were running in both directions. The couple was in love, and it was time for Wayne to tell some secrets. "It is the devil who sealed the Ministry of Magic." Wayne said nothing more, and let the cruise ship approach the shore, ending today's date. Philomena didn't care about the Ministry of Magic, but out of caution, she asked the twins to contact the church base. "The devil is out, everyone be alert." The twins found a nearby phone booth and returned with a bad look on their faces. No one answered the phone. "I changed several phone numbers and no one answered." Wayne's vigilance was instantly raised to the highest level. The Ministry of Magic and the Moonlight Church base lost contact at the same time. What about the Natural Church and the Sun Church? He walked quickly to the phone booth and dialed 2 numbers in succession. On the Natural Church side, the office assistant spoke softly, and at the Sun Church base, I don't know which muscular coach spoke hard. "Only for the Ministry of Magic and the Moonlight Church." "It's the Moonlight Church again. Could it be that he has been possessed by evil recently?" Wayne thought it was weird, and didn't say much. He hung up the phone and contacted Austin. After several rings, he heard the other party's voice. After listening to Wayne's story, Austin was surprised. "Where did you get the information? Is it reliable?" "Don't worry about whether it's reliable or not. Anyway, the devil is coming, and the Ministry of Magic has been wiped out." "What can you do?" "What can I do? I'm a silver wizard, except for a little money." Austin chuckled. "Go to the Moonlight Church base and take a look. Just take a look, don't go in. I will ask Megan to go to the Ministry of Magic headquarters. If even she can't handle it, I can only pray." "Excuse me, who do you believe in and what do you pray for?" "Pray for death to slow down." After hanging up the phone, Wayne didn't see Philomena and the twins around. The 3 of them were already on their way to the Moonlight Church base. He quickly came to the alley, and when there was no one around, he jumped into the sewer and started galloping. "Mona, where are you?"